The following is rated TV MALSV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome, one and all. You have tuned in to Too Many Chefs, a new show exclusively here on the Devious Dave Rose channel. I am your host, Devious Dave Rose. Thank you all for joining us here on this Wednesday afternoon, November 18th, 2020. Now, let me just start off, as always, by tipping my hat to those who have decided to spend their time with me this afternoon on this video stream. Shout out to Chad. It's the Costanza and Irish Dave, as well as the 9 other individuals that are currently watching this stream. So today on Too Many Chefs, the pilot and premiere episode, we're going to be discussing food, all different sorts of food. Additionally, the reason why this is called Too Many Chefs is that we take calls. How better to highlight the whole saying and adage of too many chefs than by having additional people call in. And that always leads to a great discussion. I'm sorry, I've got a little bit of the cotton mouth right now, so let me just take a drink here. Got to get that dehumidifier going. Shout out to Steve Callan in the chat. Or Callan, I'm incapable of pronouncing it properly. Now, we have many things to discuss. As I said earlier, it is open phone lines, so anybody can call in and have their say and give their input on what they think when it comes to food. But there's a lot to discuss, and since there's going to be many episodes of this show, we can take our time and discuss all different sorts of delicious, nourishing, and just amazing to look at food. Now, I know that for you Americans, next Thursday is Thanksgiving, and as we know, it is a big tradition for especially Americans to usher in the coming holiday season by having a supermassive feast that literally people spend days on. And it's not very different from the way things were done hundreds of years ago. After all, in preparation for the winter, a lot of preserves needed to be made. A lot of food needed to be smoked. A lot of food needed to be dried out, pickled, whatever the case, brined, so that it could last the coming winter. As such, this plays in very much to the fall food festivals that you find around the world. This, again, is a tradition that is from time immemorial. So that is before even written history. And although you have these progressives, and we're not going to make this too political here today, or any political apart from this, but you have these progressives that seem to think that the American Thanksgiving was a slaughter of the Indians and that it's all based on colonialism. And as we know, leftists are retarded. They don't understand history, and they don't like to read either, so that inhibits their understanding of history. So their idea that it was basically a bunch of pilgrims giving blankets that had smallpox on it to the Indians at Thanksgiving, that's all fallacy and false. Also, the Indians took slaves and understood the concept of property, despite the fact that many apologists for them say that no, that the natives lived in perfect balance with the nature, which we know is false. But let's just, use that as the final comment on politics here, because let's talk food, because I've noticed one thing, and I'm sure that you have too, that food can bring together just about anybody. Even some of the most staunchest opponents can break bread and enjoy a proper meal. And in fact, many times people don't realize that the whole hungry and angry concept is real. In fact, it is obviously scientifically proven that essentially when the body is weak on nourishment and food, that essentially cognitive dissonance can occur. There can be cognitive problems as well as a change in attitude and demeanor. So, like I said earlier, food can bring together some of the biggest opponents, and it's just something that also brings families together. And we see that with these big fall festivals, but they happen throughout the year. We have the celebrations that usher in the coming of spring at the equinox, at the vernal equinox. We have in the summertime celebrating the summer harvest. And you can definitely tell where that comes from when you take a look at the festivals that happen around those same times. And they always happen around the time of a certain type of harvest, or a certain time of year for either planting the coming crop or a mid-season harvest. Shout out to Clam Baked in the chat there. Thank you for joining us. Clam Baked says, I shall listen to this while grocery shopping. Good day, my joggers. And good day to you, Grand Jogger. Also, I noticed some of your conversation the other day with an absolute progressive idiot who just, doesn't seem to understand that, there is fraud happening right in front of their eyes, and they're a fucking moron, and you were totally justified in the way that you responded to them. Additionally, just a warning for everyone here, Instagram and Zuckerberg decided to delete one of my tweets today where I showed some beautiful, delicious skunk kush that I just purchased today. This stuff is fucking awesome. I have at least 20, 30 other photos of cannabis that I've purchased, and they decided to flag that. Well, if they're not going to restore it, I'm off Instagram. I don't care if, I'm giving them my fake information. The fact is I'm just a product for them. And as such, I expect my photos of cannabis to never be censored. For if they are, I'm off. I'm going to delete my account, and that's it. Not only no more beautiful pictures of food or of weed, but no more beautiful pictures of food. I'll go to, I don't know, there's other ones out there, I guess, Imager and some other ones, but I'm definitely not going to tolerate this. You do not censor the cannabis. And if your computer programs and your algorithms don't function properly and only catch this last one and not the last 28, you can suck my dick. So that's it. And I'll go to somebody else, some other fucking platform that would be appreciative of my posts. And that's it. I mean, I can even go to Gab if I want to, and they'll let anybody on, and they won't fucking remove you unless you actually break the law by calling for violence or something. So, fine. Fuck it. Shout out to Mose Hayes in the chat, and the villain, who just puts a question mark. Can't apparently use the keyboard. Chad says something about it's good to leave Facebook. Zuck admitted they have a program to track people across websites and programs locations too. Of course they do. I mean, and if you look at the code as you're browsing, you see it. You see how they do it. So that's why it's good to be aware of it and, not necessarily be as honest as they'd like you to, Because if you really want to be honest, they're violating American constitutional law by their terms of service. So, and again, nothing trumps the American Constitution. So Zuckerberg could say whatever the fuck he wants. Fact is, always the American Constitution trouts everything else. No, fuck Parler. Parler is partially owned by Soros, and they require a phone number for verification. That's a honeypot. That's what it is. Gab doesn't require a phone number. Although I have seen feds on that site. But I've seen feds everywhere. I've seen feds on fucking 4chan. I've seen feds on fucking Twitter. On Facebook. Like, it's so easy to tell these. I mean, and you know what? It's just I'm sorry to get into politics here, but it is just a really good example of how pathetic schools are today, because they recruit these fucking idiots who can't even troll properly, and they glow in the dark. So it's so easy to fucking tell these feds. So easy. And again, especially when they try to radicalize some of these fucking inbred hicks who, like think they're neo-Nazis or some sort of fucking delusion. And they give them all the fucking weapons and stuff and the plans to do the attack. And, oh, by the way, that guy was a fed and he caught you before you could do what he told you to do. Oh, yeah. Fucking retarded. Anywho, pig got me hungry now. Oh, well, we're going to get into that because there's quite a few photos to show. And in fact, I'm going to need a warning on my shows in regards to you better have eaten when you view, because you're going to get hungry if you don't have a full stomach. In fact, I don't have a full stomach and I'm getting hungry. But I'm going to push through on this one because I'm giving it to you, the people. So just a reminder again, I do have open Skype lines. After all, this is called Too Many Chefs, and the whole purpose is to allow other people to come in and we can have a chaotic situation. You see how I work that against those that would criticize me, that I don't like too many people on the call? Oh, look at that. Look at that. So, as I was saying earlier, Thanksgiving is coming up, and we all know that turkey, for example, is a big thing. And yeah, I do like my turkey, although it is not my favorite fowl. And it is more of a, at least in North America, it seems to be more of a seasonal animal as opposed to something that you might eat year-round. Although, obviously, they're available year-round, and you can. But at least when it comes to sales of the food, deals, and just harvesting times, this is, the time where all of these have been slaughtered and have been prepped and ready to go for the eventual feasting that will occur. And on top of that, it does go back to what we were talking about earlier regarding preparation for the coming winter. So a whole turkey will feed quite a lot of people, but there will be a substantial amount that is left over. And all of that is normally used by those that are turkey aficionados. So that meat will last for weeks. You can do just about anything with those bones. That will make a great broth. And turkey sandwiches, always great, especially open-faced turkey sandwiches, some gravy on there. So that's just one aspect of how turkey comes into play when it comes to Thanksgiving. Then you've got things like the stuffing, which, yeah, it's bread, but it's delicious. It's delicious. Now, I make my stuffing separate. But, some people do swear by putting it, or stuffing it, I should say, inside the turkey. And that does yield a good type of stuffing, especially because of the absorption of the juices. But, it's really a preference thing. Some people swear by it, by stuffing the turkey. Some people say, I won't do that at all. So that depends. Oh, Kid420 says, don't forget about turkey soup. Yep. It's a very versatile meat. And I'm not too much of a fan of it because of its lean aspect. It's lean and, it's got great flavor. It's a hearty meat, fleshy. But I don't know. It's not necessarily my preferred type of bird. And yeah, I mean, some people for Thanksgiving, for example, they have ham. instead of turkey. Some people have quail. Some people, I prefer quail for Christmas. I think that's a great classic, Victorian style Christmas meal. Goose goes well with a nice Christmas meal as well. Turkey has for quite some time since its arrival to the European continent from the Americas was something that was very big during Christmas time. Christmas turkey, very, very big staple of the Victorian era and their feasts, as well as eventually the Edwardian era and so forth. So back to the chat here. It's the Costanza says, I like spicy as much as ghost pepper. Very nice. Now, I want to get some input from you Yanks there in the chat there. What is your favorite meal or food, whatever, from Thanksgiving, from your traditional Thanksgiving? What is the favorite meal that you have? Some people like yam pudding or baked yams. There's many ways to make yam. There's always, mashed potatoes. This image, for example, has oysters, which I've never seen personally at a Christmas meal, but maybe it's a big deal on the East Coast. I don't know. Honey glazed carrots, always a great addition. Beets, as featured in this photo, those are always very nice. I love beets, actually. I like them boiled or steamed. They're perfectly fine that way. Beet soup, perfectly fine. They are a little strong in their taste, but I don't know. There's something about them. They're, I had them like this as a kid, and I was perfectly fine with it. But basically boiled, but they were cold, with a little bit of olive oil and salt. Yeah, that's quite a monk's meal, but I liked it. Fed me and filled me up. And plus, it's got a nice change. That's a big thing that many people don't seem to understand or at least really, really understand. And that's something I really would like to discuss on this show and on subsequent ones as well, is the importance of flavor. Because if you've got a meal, for example, you buy it for McDonald's, okay? If you're really going to try to analyze the taste compared to, say, duck confit or a ribeye steak, and we could go on and on. There's the flavor that's infused into a McDonald's hamburger is artificial. A lot of it comes from the salt, and you notice this too, that as you've seen with other instances, some McDonald's burgers put into a jar and it's sealed shut. And a year later, because of the salt content, there's been practically no decomposure whatsoever of the organic material. And that's a lot of the time what the salt does. So very cheap restaurants, organizations, and people will use a ton of salt. A, because they don't know any better, or B, because they know that it's going to provide some sort of flavoring that will be sufficient to especially encourage more consumption of food and drinking. So, for example, in some places, for example, bars. Let's break it down very simply. In bars, they offer free peanuts and salty foods. Why? Because that'll entice you to drink more. So the same thing applies with restaurants and food. And the higher salt content, the more probability you're going to find a place like McDonald's or another fast food joint that literally kills thousands of people a year through their choice in operations. And that has to include, and I've got to be specific here, their choice in meats, the way that they decide what meat is used, and the storages of the meats, the processing, the additional chemicals and such that are added on there. And as such, this statistically has shown a lead in increase of obesity, diabetes, and death. And it's not just McDonald's; they're all on the hook. But it's not because they like. It's based on multiple reasons, and the bottom one is the bottom line. Because you can make cheap food and make more money. So why not use subpar products? Yeah, okay, the population's going to get sicker. Yeah, they can easily just stay alive another 10, 20 years on drugs, getting sicker, and sucking up from the taxpayer money when they could be, eating healthy and no longer be a drain on the system or on themselves. So let's go back to the chat here. We got Kid 420. Oh, the villain actually mentions a very important one here, because this is a big thing, especially in America, I've noticed. And although it's big up here, it seems to be big for a different reason, but we'll get to that. Stuffing and mac and cheese. I'm guessing you're talking about two separate dishes, because I'm not sure if mixing them is what you're referring to, although technically stuffing in anything goes well. So I mean, I wouldn't doubt that mac and cheese would go well with that. Kid 420 says yams and pumpkin pie. Oh, yeah. And when it comes to pie, specifically either pumpkin or lemon, I like to use not whipped cream, not that garbage, the fucking, Cool Whip or the stuff in the spray bottles and stuff. I like to make crème chantilly. And let me tell you, this is the cream. This is the cream of the crop. Ooh, yeah. And let me tell you, it is fucking amazing. Literally, all it is table milk, or table cream, whatever. And, or half and half, whichever one you want. And some powdered sugar. That is it. You whip it up and it makes not only the most delicious whipped cream ever, it's also probably 1,000 times more healthy than what you're going to find in being offered, in these supermarkets, whatever, this artificial garbage that you can actually take, because it's hydrogenated corn syrup and canola oil. I can instantly tell when that shit's in anything that I eat. Instantly. It's disgusting. And that is the problem with this cream. It's fucking disgusting, this artificial crap. The stuff I'm talking about, the stuff that I can make myself, oh, baby. Oh, baby. And I'm going to definitely make a video for you guys to show you how easy it is and try to convey how delicious this stuff is. It goes so well on pies, on sweets, on treats. Oh, baby. And it's so simple to make. That's all it takes. It's just a little bit of half and half and some powdered sugar, and that's it. You don't have to get, a product that has names that are literally 20 letters long and impossible to pronounce and taste like shit. So, I can't wait to share that with you. Now, let's go back to the chat. Looks like maybe I should be waving the rainbow flag because we got a faggot apparently. Let's read what he has to say. Gesture laugh. Costanza, nice to see you crawling back to Joe. You gonna block me like you did on Joe's chat? Hey Dave, Joe's going live. What a shock. Okay, and your purpose being we're not talking that individual. In fact, it's should be evident to those with half a brain that I don't need to talk about Joe like that Chris faggot was the other day, because I can talk about so many other things. And that's why I'm talking about food right now, because I could talk about this for hours. Don't even have to mention that guy. Don't even have to bring up what I've discussed on previous videos, because anyone can watch them. No, we're talking food right now. So, I think that has warranted you a trip all the way to Hades. Don't hit your ass when you get to the bottom. All right. The villain says not mix. Okay, good. Yes. Okay. He's referring to the stuffing and mac and cheese. Most Hayes says, not fan of stuffing. It's kind of dry. It depends on how you make it. If yeah, it can come out dry if it's not done right. But yeah, you can get um, some moist stuffing if done right, and that's the challenge though. But the thing is though, this is what once you break the, like if somebody has a hesitation in regards to cooking or baking or whatever, once you break that wall of self-doubt, it's all downhill from there in the sense that it's all going to be easier and easier. Okay. Um, uh, you'll never learn how to do something unless you try. And guess what? Oh, you might fuck up. Well, guess what you do? You could try to eat it if it's edible. If not, you throw it out. And guess what? You try over again. And you do it until you get better. How do you think the best chefs in the world started? They've got to. So there's nothing wrong with just experimenting. And sometimes you might read a recipe that you like, but you already have one that you rely on. Well, you could start to intersperse a couple of ingredients here and there. You might try to, if your meal includes most of what this new recipe has, but it has, something different, maybe just add a little bit of that, just to see how it changes your soup or, whatever it is that you're making. And, then begin to adjust accordingly. So it's trial and error. And more importantly, it's extremely empowering because once you realize how easy it is to cook, how easy it is to nourish yourself, to feel good from eating, and not be stuck and dependent on either pre-prepared frozen foods or relying on fast food restaurants or delivery. Once you realize that it is so easy to make food that you enjoy to make and that you enjoy to eat, that's when the stars will align for you. And that's when I think many of you out there will start to really embrace what is innately within us. Not only are humans naturally creative, but we're obviously, what is it called? Enamored by things that look beautiful and that taste great. So that's definitely something that we should consider. Alrighty. See any other comments? Oh, a sweet potato pie. Yep, that's very delicious, and that's something that I have eaten as much as I can whenever I find someone who actually makes it, because it doesn't seem that often, at least for me, to find someone that actually someone makes that. Now, unfortunately, someone is at my door, so I'm going to just have to quickly step back for a second. I don't have any music ready to play, so just give me like 15 seconds. Sorry. All right, thanks for your patience. Just had to sign a little delivery form, and we're good to go. All righty, so let's see here. Back to the chat. Just want to see if anything else has been brought up. Nope, we're still talking about sweet potato pie. Now, speaking of pies, actually, I was talking to my smug Canadian co-host, Nicky Nines. You can see him on his channel, the Nicky Nines channel. And he was mentioning to me that he had planned to make a lemon meringue pie. Now, I love that pie. I love a lot of pies, actually. I don't think I've found a pie yet that I haven't liked, of all sorts. And I know you know what I'm saying. Regardless, lemon meringue can be a challenge because making meringue is a challenge. And I've never done it before, although I've helped people out that were making it in front of me, so I've seen how it's done, but I've never done it before. But the thing is, though, how will I ever know how the consistency is, how it reacts to my utensils if I don't try it myself? And it's fairly easy to make, actually. It just takes egg whites and some sugar, some butter. But, yeah, I mean, it might look out of reach when it comes to making these things, but it's a lot easier than you might think. And in fact, there's a lot of things out there that will make it so much easier for you. If you're not down with making your own dough at the beginning, some crust, you can start off by buying this stuff pre-made, a pre-made crust, a pie crust. And then you can either make your own filling, or you can buy that separate yourself and then start to get the feel of what it is to put something like this together. And a lot of the times, some of these shell crusts come with recipes already on them. You can easily follow them. Sometimes they come in like packs of 4 or something. So yeah, okay, you fuck one up, you got a bunch more. So you can definitely experiment when it comes to baking pies and try different fillings. For example, key lime. Oh man, do I love key lime. Chocolate pudding, just chocolate pudding. Love that. Custard. And there's several types of custards. There's like a base custard. There's more of a lemon custard. Love that stuff. There's the coconut banana chocolate type pie. It's similar sort of like to the Boston pie, Boston cream pie. Because, you know, we all know that mostly as a donut, but that actually came from a pie back in the 20s. That was a creation of the Roaring 20s. So definitely pie shouldn't be something that you think is out of your reach. And if you're interested, there's a lot of recipes out there. Now, speaking of recipes, this is something I've been looking forward to for quite some time. And eventually there will be more that I can provide you. But I've said for a while that I have always planned to write at least 2 recipe books. Now, why 2? Well, because I know a lot of different recipes I'd love to get out there. But specifically one available for free as a downloadable PDF to the people in the community. Now, still working on a title. I don't know if it's going to be community cookbook or something along those lines. We'll have a nice snappy title. We all know that I am one of the greatest when it comes to naming show names and verbiage, and after all, I am the master of lists. Shout out to Raft, aka Vikings fan. And yeah, I will be working on that further because I have been working on it as of late. I've been working a lot more on it. I'm going to make it as simple as possible to follow those instructions because nobody likes going on those stupid websites that tell you a recipe and you literally have to scroll through their life story till you finally find the ingredient list and the instructions. You know, they're giving you all these stupid like suggestions. It's like, no, when I go to a cookbook, I want to find out exactly how to make it. I don't want to spend like a day reading the book so I can finally figure out, oh, just 2 cups of water and 1 cup of salt. Thanks. So, shout out to Jeebus the God, who's just popped up in the chat. So, my idea is to make it as simple as possible and also to provide simple recipes because already monitoring and seeing some of the people in the community who, for example, order food very consistently but yet don't have any vegetables in their fridge. These people could definitely benefit from my knowledge, as can their heart and their sugar level in their blood, or their blood sugar, whatever you want to call it. Something as simple as making bacon. Some people aren't really experts of. They're not too sure how to get that proper consistency, the one that they get at the restaurants. And obviously, most people don't have this huge gas-powered skillet that they can cook 12 meals on at the same time, and no, they're limited with what they have access to. As such, there are ways, very, very simple life hacks that you can use to get literally the perfect consistency of bacon. Oh, Jeebus the God says, I don't eat right. I would like your help, Sir Dave. Well, there's many things that can be done in regards to proper nutrition. Um, but yeah, it obviously it depends from person to person. And, obviously it's good to consult a health practitioner, a doctor, a nutritionist. Nutritionists are very good, especially since more often than not, what you're going to find is a doctor that is willing to prescribe a drug while a nutritionist will say, you know what? The sugar intake that you're getting from this particular product is probably the key to you feeling bad right after. Let's do this. Let's substitute that for this. I know it doesn't taste as good, but this is for that. So use that and let's see the difference. And then like, damn, I'm a nutritionist. I'm feeling so much better, a lot more energy. It's like, okay, so it seems to be that, we narrow it down. Okay, so you're probably susceptible to sulfites, or you're probably being affected by the sodium content of this. Now, what else are you consuming right now that might be further aggravating that? Perhaps you're getting sodium from some other source. Perhaps you're consuming too much salt. So the thing is, though, that's their job. And a naturopath, that's their job as well. A homeopath, yeah, to a certain extent, but they deal with a different sort of medicine, vibrational medicine. But a naturopathist, sorry. I always try to stuff those words together. Or even just a simple nutritionist. Sometimes just a personal trainer can provide some very good just feedback in regards to the consumption of your food and what components might be aggravating your system. Back to the chat here. Jeebus the God says, Dave, I use electric, not gas. That's fine. That's not a big deal. I like gas, but I like gas because of the convenience and the power. It's like driving standard versus automatic, or manual, as they call it nowadays. But it was standard back in my day. Get off my lawn. But that's not the issue. Like, gas just gives you more control over the cooking process so that you can control exactly what is happening to the food. Electric just heats this up. That's fine. That's not the issue. It's the content of it. If you're going to buy, like, I don't know, chicken from a Chinese grocery store that has rats that run inside, it's bad. But if you're going to go to your local butcher who literally just slaughtered those chickens this morning and you're buying it at 4 p.m. for dinner, you're not going to get anything better. So it depends on where you're getting your food from. And you got to look at the people that are selling you this stuff, because very often than not, they're just trying to make a buck. So they're going to undercut all these other people by just selling you absolute trash garbage food from very bad places like China. Always watch out for food from China. Always. Look at garlic. Garlic can easily be made here year round. And we're getting tons of shipments from China. Mushrooms. Mushrooms are so easy to fucking make in North America. And we're getting tons of them from China. You've got to watch out where your food comes from. Not just what it's coming from, but where. And keep your eyes open for those greedy, opportunistic, evil communist Chinese. Their purpose is to commit what's called asymmetric sixth generation warfare. And we're going back to the politics again. But food is part of that. Make your enemy's nation sick with the food that you end up selling them. You can defeat them. So that's something to keep in mind. Sonic Boone says, nice a cooking show. Jeebus the God says, I just cooked a pizza from Papa Murphy's take home and bake pizza. Just woke up starving too. Yeah, I will have to have a warning on this channel when I do air these streams, because everyone always tells me that when I do talk about food, that like they literally feel ravished, and starving. So There's not much I can do about that. That's what we're talking about. So better show up with a full stomach, or I don't know, a spare granola bar or something. Because we're gonna get a lot more hungry. I can promise you that. Jeebus the God says I eat too much salt. Yeah, that's definitely something that's going to add to the problem. Salt and sugar, that's a big problem. White processed refined sugar, very bad. And yeah, it tastes delicious and all that, but you really got to be careful. And I'm very proud of the way that I'm able to control my sugar cravings and stuff. And honestly, if I really decided to, I could go into a bakery and literally eat them out of business because I love baked goods. Cookies, sweets, snacks, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of the fact that I could easily bake myself a chocolate cake and smother in dulce de leche, but I don't. I'll just have an apple, or I don't know, have a little bit of lemon in some water or something. So as long as you can maintain some sort of self-control, you can definitely improve your physical state through your nutrition. Jeebus continues, says, I'm gaining weight like never before. When I was young, I could eat anything, but now it's causing, weight gain and health problems. Yeah. See, Jeebus now says China MSG. Now, here's the thing. MSG is not that bad. It's actually been overhyped in regards to its ill effects. Look, it's not great, but it does occur in nature, and it is a flavor enhancer. This isn't to say that you should literally go out and just start to scarf on this stuff, but it's not that bad compared to the sodium, because that's when they go overboard. And I had Chinese food like a month or two ago, and the next day I felt like garbage. Why? Because of the amount of sodium that they put in there. And it was just so noticeable. So, it depends as well. You gotta take a look. Jeebus the God says, Canada makes the best honey. I was in Walmart and all they had was China-made honey. Exactly. Why the fuck? Why the fuck is China selling its honey in North America? There's more than enough honey producers here that you don't need that. And in fact, I would never trust a fucking honey from China. Like, they're harvesting pollen from plants that are like ultra polluted. And they want to send that shit here? No, this isn't just about greed. This is what they've planned all along. They want the destruction of North America. They want the destruction of America and of freedom. So that's why you should never trust any foodstuffs that come from these countries that are so public about their disdain for those that buy their products from them. Regardless, as I've mentioned earlier, this is a open stream, open call stream. So if you want to call in and you want to give your opinion or your thoughts on food, feel free to do so. I'm going to be discussing a few other topics here, several actually, to be quite honest. And I hope that I get some of your input as well, because obviously I don't know everything when it comes to cooking, and I also like to expose myself to new foods and new cultures. And that's actually something as well that people sometimes overlook, is that you can really learn a lot about a culture by trying new foods. And for example, some people might not like Indian food just because, they've never, fully tried it. But Indian food is as diverse as their ethnicities in their country. If you're aware of how things are in China, you have literally, in India, you have dozens of different ethnicities. And the further south you go, the darker and darker the people get, and the more varied their diet becomes. You see a lot more fish down southern part of India because of its proximity to the ocean than you do, say, in the what was it called? I don't want to mispronounce the name. Regardless, it's more in the north. So, and you can, and although predominantly India has Hindus there that are vegetarian. There are areas of the country where they do eat cow. So when it comes to Indian food, for example, there is much more variety than the media might have made you think there is. And the only way to figure it out is to literally go to an Indian restaurant. There's a lot of buffets, Indian buffets out there where they have a lot of different foods that you can try out. All right, now we're getting more into the spirit of things. Now we've got another loudmouth Latino who also likes to enjoy eating and enjoyment. So let's welcome SC Steve. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. It's pretty windy here, so sorry for the feedback. It'll be quick.
Oh, no problem. I'm just gonna put a quick graphic up for you now because we got Latino calling in, so I put some Latino food on the screen.
Shit, can't really see it, but I did hear you say that I enjoy eating. I do enjoy eating, but I much more prefer to cook than eat. I'm honest.
Well, it is true that we don't live to eat. We eat to live. So we should never get confused on that. But no, that is something else I slightly discussed. And why don't you tell us further? There is a joy when it comes to cooking for other people.
Yes, bro. Yes, man. The excitement, just especially because you cook pretty good. You know that these people are going to be fucking satisfied. And just ask when they ask you, oh my god, like how'd you make this? And then you tell them the ingredients, and they don't really care about the ingredients. It's just a way of them being courteous because they're enjoying the food. They want to, make you feel good as well, I think.
Oh, no, absolutely. There's a huge satisfaction knowing that your creation is satisfying others, especially when it comes to nourishing their bodies.
Yes. So it'll be a quick one.
And it doesn't have to be. This is too many shifts. That means we're like, we'll take as many calls as we need to on the same call, and the more the merrier. Again, this is another way of showing that I can laugh at myself and that I am, in fact, better than many people of that other community. But let's continue.
So, do you think there's a difference between those high-end steaks or those steak restaurants, or just like a cheaper, much more cheaper steak restaurant, steakhouse? Like, for example, the Salt Babe guy. I don't know if you've ever seen his prices, but they're insane. And everybody is entertained. As far as the food goes, they enjoy the food as well. Maybe I don't know if that's true or not. But it is very high-end. What do you think? Is there a difference? I hope you have a good day, bro. I hope people are encouraged to call in. No drama. Just come on. Talk food. Nothing better than food. Take care, everyone.
Well, thanks for calling. So, in regards to what he was saying, absolutely. Absolutely is there a difference between the quality. Now, the Salt Bae actually has several restaurants. Okay, he's in Turkey. He's obviously quite famous now because celebrities flock to the guy. And yes, you are paying for a bit of that entertainment value. The other thing that you're paying for is the exclusivity of being in one of these restaurants, because it's not easy to get one of these restaurants either. Not just the price range, but the reservations. On top of that, if you take a look at the meat itself, you can tell it's good quality meat. Very good quality meat. And obviously his prices are thus justified. It's not that it's over expensive, it's that it's appropriate to what's being offered. And the way, the amount of work that goes into it, because you can see it, because as soon as he starts to remove those bones or just flick the bone and the meat just falls off, you can tell a proper carnicero. SC Steve should understand that word, but a man who handles barbecue in the grill, that would be the name. A meat man, basically, a butcher. Yeah, you would understand that quality is there, just from the look of how the meat reacts. And that's something I take great pride and pleasure in, is sort of understanding the nuances of meat and all the different cuts of meat. That's another thing that if you're really into food or you just want to get into food, once you start to learn about the different cuts of, say, a cow, okay, you got loin, you've got rib, you got all this different stuff. Once you realize how to use it and what flavor it has, it's like the heavens open up and you've got these angels singing. Because then you just have so much more understanding as to how you can use this animal and what preferences you have. What part of the cow do you love the best? What gives you the best flavor? What gives you the best, say, consistency for a stew? So once you start to get into that, it will open up a whole new world for you, I believe. And I think the same thing would apply when it comes to pork. Because once you get to understand the hog itself and all the delicious, beautiful cuts that the great Lord has provided us in that animal, you realize that it's just so versatile. And you know what? I've never tried hooves, pig hooves, trotters before. They seem to be a big deal in places like Jamaica. And if ever presented with them, I'd eat them to try them out. And I usually try things twice because you never know if the first time, you were open to it. So, sometimes you might try something that you don't find appetizing, but you might want to consider eating it a second time just to see if maybe your taste buds were off that first day. Or maybe it's just an acquired taste. So back to the chat here. Jeebus says, Dave, being a Canadian, have you ever made native bannock? Yes. Having worked in the outdoor industry, I have made bannock, yes, as well. Because when it comes to summer camps and stuff, that is a regular thing. Even day camps and stuff, they'll teach you how to make bannock, or at least they did back in my day. Bannock, for those that are unaware in the chat, is an ancient, I don't know if I can call it ancient, but it's basically, it's a sort of like a flat quick bread, and it's made over the fire, and it was basically created by the natives here. The natives adopted it here. It was created in Scotland, but the voyageurs and such came to Canada and introduced it to the indigenous people. And they had flour of their own and stuff, but it made it easy for them to make this sort of thing. And it then, at that point, started to really spread amongst other tribes of the natives of Canada, including the Métis, who were there in the west around Manitoba. But the way that you can easily make this is essentially to wet this flour and to wrap it around. It's obviously not going to be too runny, but you're going to wrap it around a stick, and then you're just going to hold it over the fire and let it toast. And eventually that stuff toasts up to the perfect consistency, and there you go. That's bannock. But you can make a loaf of it and put it in a pan and let that, cook as well and stuff. So obviously there are many different ways of making this sort of thing. But it's one of many, like hardtack, I believe, is another very similar food, but more based in the South. And it's like a simple biscuit made from flour and water and sometimes salt. So it's almost like bannock. It's just different in the way that it's made and put together and stuff. And again, it's a food that would be utilized very easy. Like it would be made very easily. Oh, we're getting a call here. Let's see who's calling. Hello, caller.
Hello. I'm speaking from Sri Lanka. This is Dave Rose show, right?
Is this S.C. Sanjiti?
No.
Okay, and how can I help you today?
Yeah, I was listening to the show, so you were talking about food.
Yep, we're still talking about food.
Yeah, so what sort of foods do you eat every day? Like lunchtime, morning, dinner.
It varies on the day. I like to have a nice balanced meal throughout the week, and I don't like to have the same sort of meat or carbohydrate 2 days in a row. So it all depends.
Yeah. So do you make them on the day, or like do you make them in one day and use them for a week, like package in the fridge, or?
A variety of both, actually. Timing's a big thing. Timing's a big thing due to the fact that, for example, if you make yourself a sandwich for lunch the next day,
Yeah.
then you got to make sure that the way you make it doesn't leave it soggy, because nobody likes a soggy sandwich for lunch. And if you say
Yeah.
but here's the thing, you got to use the same strategy. And this is also a little life hack tip for everyone. There are even gas stations that sell sandwiches in these little packages and stuff, right? And those things
Yeah.
can last a week or more and A, not go bad, and B, not go soggy. And that's not because of chemicals. That's because they're just been put together in the right way. So a sandwich, for example, if it's going to be stored for a couple of days, if you're going to be busy, and for the next 3 days you want to have lunch ready, you don't have the time to make lunch, you could make 3 sandwiches. And those sandwiches you would just package up into an airtight container, maybe put some vegetable sticks with it, or some granola with yogurt or some sort of snack, and then you would store that. And for example, with the
Yeah.
sandwich, so the way to not get a soggy sandwich is a good way to do it is either use cheese, slices of cheese, or lettuce, a nice solid piece of lettuce but dried, to first put on the inside of the bread, and then put your if you want mayonnaise or some sort of sauce, you put it on that. Everything is contained essentially either between the cheese or the lettuce, and then outside is the bread. That way, it will stay nice and crisp, but it won't be soggy.
Would you reckon the brown bread or white plain one, or
It,
the ones with the nuts and all that?
that actually also depends on what you want to put in there. Because, for example, an egg salad sandwich can work well with white bread or brown bread. For me, I've got a preference that I like tuna either on brown or rye. Some
Yeah.
people like on rye, for example, because it's a harder bread, they like having cream cheese on there. Because again, the harder the bread, the better it is to spread that sort of thing. While on a regular piece of bread, a square loaf, unless you toast it enough to make it pliable, that cream cheese is probably going to break right through the bread because of its,
Well,
the way it's
yeah,
made.
that's true, but you don't want to eat bread all the time, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
I know. See, the thing is,
'Cause
though, I love bread, but that's a big problem. Grains are not the best for humans, and we do have to limit our intake of bread. I totally understand what you're saying, but it is one of those things that's, I mean, I do a better job not eating sugar than it comes to bread. That's for sure. And it's hard.
oh yeah,
It's
that's
hard.
fine.
But that's the thing, though. There's another way around it, though.
Yeah.
There is another way around it. For example, wraps. I love wraps, especially sandwich wraps for lunch. Now, yes, there are flour-based tortillas that you can use that obviously, still have flour in it. But you can find things like corn tortillas, right? They're made of corn. So you don't have the grain
Yeah.
of the wheat. It's just corn. And those are fucking great on themselves. So that is a good substitute that removes the bread aspect if you want to have a wrap of a sandwich or anything for that matter. It could be, beef asado and carne asada. And a cornmeal wrap, tostada, whatever you want to call them. It's, the Mexicans are big for them.
Yeah.
That works great.
I mean, yeah, they're quite expensive if you want to buy them from the store. Like the like street food kind of wraps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, over here it's like quite pricey for those. They'll put all sorts of stuff in there, like they'll put chicken, with vegetables.
Where are you
They'll
right now?
add the flavoring in. Uh, right now,
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're saying over there.
I'm
So
from yeah, I'm from Sri Lanka.
okay, so you're from Sri Lanka. Lovely people, by the way. So are you? I'm cool with all Sri Lankans, but are you Sinhalese or Tamil?
Yes, yeah, Sinhalese.
Okay, cool. Nice to meet you. I've met several of you guys. Okay, so
Yeah, I was
when you refer to the bread, are you referring to what I understand as naan, or is it different?
no, no, it's the normal plain wraps.
Okay, so are you talking somewhat like Middle Eastern, where it's like the pita, where you can fill it in, or just
Yeah, yeah,
like that? Okay,
yeah,
okay. Well, yeah, I guess yeah, that is usually brown. What I've noticed is brown wheat, but they have white wheat too. But
yeah.
you can't you find rice
About
bread there? I mean, it's Asia. You
yeah,
should be
yeah,
able to find rice bread or rice wraps.
yeah, yeah. We do, but it's not very popular though.
Really?
Um, yeah, because they do the naan bread, the Asian style, the wrap.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with naan, but it is different though from obviously Middle Eastern pita. I see
Mm.
naan is more thick and there's no pocket really. At least the ones that we have here in Canada, I've never seen pockets in them.
Yeah, yeah. I was listening earlier about weed.
Yes,
That you took
cannabis.
a picture. Yeah, cannabis. Um, I mean, I don't know, but all over, the signs are pointing that it's not good to use. Like, they're like illegal and all that. So I don't know. Over here, it's completely illegal. So
No, I understand that that might be the case, but I've been smoking since I was 17 years old,
mm.
and it is
I mean,
not
smoking is bad. It's not good for your,
well.
uh,
The act of smoking does raise certain risks, but it's not a guarantee that it's going to kill you.
yeah,
Also,
exactly.
additionally, though, is that the cannabis already has thousands of years of evidence that point to this, as well as several pieces of evidence currently and contemporary that prove, apart of many other things, it's very good for the immune system and for healing. Now, some might dispute it, as they have in the past, but I've always come out with the evidence, and I've stated it and I'm not referring to you. I'm just saying, giving you the background. What's your name,
Yeah,
sorry, so I
yeah.
can talk to you?
Um, um, uh, Namesh.
Namesh. Okay. Um, like there are some people who criticize me and ridiculed this, but 6 years ago I told them cannabis cures cancer. Now there are a lot of studies that do prove this, but because the pharmaceutical companies make money from keeping people sick, they're not going to want to
Yeah,
reveal that information, or they're going to try to demonize the person who made the study and say, "Oh, he's just crazy," or whatever. But we already know that, for example, when you have tobacco companies who knew that what they were doing was bad, investing in cannabis companies, you know what they want to do is they want to corner the market on everything. That's what they're doing. And they want to control the way that it's put out. Hashish has been made from cannabis for thousands of years. They've used it to reduce pain in giving birth to women that were 10,000 years ago and stuff. So it's known that this is not a bad thing, and humans
but
actually in their brain have a receptor that is made specifically for the THC um, molecule, and to me that indicates that our bodies were made to accept it. But there's many other reasons. I mean, we don't have to discuss that. We're here for food, but go ahead.
yeah, exactly. But as I was saying, if the police finds out over here, I mean, they're gonna immediately arrest you, put in jail, and pretty much it goes from there.
Well,
So
I'm not endorsing anyone, go out and get it if it's illegal in their country. I'm just saying that I'm always gonna, stand up for it, whether it's legal or illegal. Um, here in my country, it's legal in Canada. It's been legal for years, and there's no problem with that. And in fact, even when it wasn't, I had no problems making a big point about how there was no moral implications in regards to um, smoking or possessing cannabis, especially because
mm.
of the medical benefits. Now, I've actually made food with cannabis, and this is also something that bothers me is that
Oh yeah.
there are
There's
what's that?
yeah. Over here, they have like oils, and they put like cannabis leaves in there. It's good like for your back and all that.
Yep.
So it's like a type of cream. So
Hmm.
um, I was like going crazy, like, oh, how can they sell this in the pharmacy? Um, they had one in there, they had like bit of like cannabis in there with the, the oily and all the other stuff. It's like a cream. So if you like maybe damage your back, then you can apply it there. So
Yeah, it's very useful, and it can be applied for so many different things. So the fact is that when it comes to cannabis, they demonize it, knowing that it has so many great benefits that they don't want people to benefit from that. So that's the reason why. And eventually, I'm guessing the world will change to accept this. But even America, it's changing very quickly. So we'll see that
uh,
eventually.
yeah. Talking about food, I remember, have you seen the Star Wars movie? You know, they had food in there where, it's like a tablet or whatever, and then you put it on water and then it becomes like a bun. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Imagine in the future, like we could do
Oh
that.
yes, I'm not sure if that was Star Wars or if that was Star Trek. I think it probably was Star Wars. I don't remember which movie you're referring to. Um,
Yeah.
but I sort of remember
Um,
something like that, and actually very similar. We saw that in Back to the Future 2. Not sure if you've
uh,
seen that movie, but very similar.
yeah, I've seen it.
They put the
I don't remember.
tray with the dehydrated pizza, very very small little thing, and then as soon as it comes out, it's a full size pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
Pretty
yeah, I
awesome.
mean, there's nothing that we're limited to as human beings. The sky's the limit for humanity. If we would stop fighting each other and use that money that we're spending on war to just be
Yeah.
creative, we would have that stuff within the year. We'd be in the stars within a month. I mean, there's so much that humans are capable of, and food is a big one. I mean, again, there's it's a world of food, to explore.
Um, yeah. I mean, you sound very educated. Do you have like a PhD or something? Like,
Perhaps in another life, but no, I have several diplomas
uh,
and certifications and other uh, commendations, if you want to call them that. Um,
yeah.
but, yes, I would say I'm
All right.
quite intelligent. I've got no qualms in saying so. I'm not embarrassed or ashamed of my accomplishments.
Yeah.
And no one should ever be, and no one should ever be shamed either. People who think that they can ridicule somebody else because they're better than them, it just goes to show how immature they are, and that's why they shouldn't even be considered. And
Yeah, exactly.
and as I was explaining earlier to people who were listening, um, I want to share my knowledge with other people. I want to make that free cookbook, and I want to, yeah, help
Mm,
out people who might have never tried it before, who might be feel either a little intimidated or overwhelmed and not know where to start, and basically just let them know that the world awaits. There's anything possible. Whatever your mind can come up with, you can make, and it's gonna take time. It's just gonna take time to try. That's
I
all.
mean, the thing over here is trying to find all the ingredients to make the food. It's it's quite expensive.
Well,
You know what I mean?
but that's the thing though. It
Yeah.
depends on how you're making it and what you're making. Because, for example, there are some recipes that literally don't require more than 5 ingredients, while the same food, recommended by somebody else, has 20 different ingredients and 8 times more the steps that you have to do, and then this and that. It's what I want to do is, like as I said earlier, this recipe book. I want to make it very easy to follow and just understand simple ingredients. And I'm sure that there are foods that you could make there, even either with limited supplies or
Yeah.
certain things that are a little expensive. There are certain ways of uh, basically dividing your food up. And I'm a huge man when it comes to lists. Lists are important to me because they help you organize. And being able to plan a week or two in
Oh yeah.
advance, that is going to be the most beneficial thing, because then you understand what you're going to require. And once that period is complete, then you understand your consumption rates. That's a big thing that people need to remember. So once you understand how much you're consuming, so say, for example, after those 2 weeks, you had bought, excuse me, sorry, let's start first. Say you buy, I don't know, a jar of yogurt,
Yeah.
and you end up using it for the next 2 weeks with tikka masala, whatever the hell, you're making it with other stuff. And then at the end of those 2 weeks, you notice that you've got maybe half of it left over, and it's already going bad. You realize,
Yeah. Expiring.
I bought too much. In 2 weeks, I either have to make more of stuff with this, or I've got to reduce how much I use. So I know there's half a jar at the store. I'll buy that next time. You know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the thing is, I mean, anything is like possible, but the prices over here are like, no, no way. It's quite hard. You know what I mean?
No, but well, prices for what? What are you planning to make? Duck souffle? Like, what is it?
No, no, like simple stuff are fine. Like the everyday, rice, noodles, pasta, all
Okay,
that.
so rice is expensive there?
No, no, no. They're like like the everyday food, so they're not
Okay,
expensive.
Namish, you got to remember, everyday foods for you are definitely not everyday foods for me or anybody
Oh,
else listening. So I don't know what you eat. I don't know how often you eat it. So, I don't know what the traditional thing for you would be to eat. So you're
yeah.
going to have to be more specific.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine, no problem.
Well, tell us okay. So like normally, what's a normal meal for you? Like a dinner. What is dinner for Namish?
Dinner, um, we have
I am
rice
pronouncing it
over
right,
here.
am I?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We have rice with vegetables, chicken. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And
So
on the other days, we change it up with noodles, vegetable noodles, and the cheap ones.
okay, yeah, no, I know
Uh,
the ramen ones. Okay. Let me think here. There's always a solution. So you like the chicken. Is there any meat that you don't eat?
um, yeah, no, pretty much eat everything like beef,
Okay. Okay.
pork. Yeah,
Are you close to the coast?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The
So
ocean.
do you like seafood?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Okay. Do you have access to a freezer?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Um, how many people are you trying to feed?
No, I mean, well, I'm not trying to feed
No,
anything,
as in like
anyone.
how many like I thought maybe you might have a family that you want to like say I want to, make for 4 people. I'm just trying to think of how much quantity
Oh,
and what you would make.
um, yeah, 4 people in total,
Okay,
including me.
including you, all eating at the same time. Not food that's going to
Yeah.
be like sitting around for someone to eat later, something like that. It's like this is a meal.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Let me think here. Obviously, rice is a big staple down there. Personally, I'm not a big fan of rice, but that's because I was traumatized by it as a kid. So I don't blame anyone from Asia about that, you know. In fact, I've had great rice in the past, so I don't blame rice either.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Um,
have the
do
the
you have
white rice, the brown rice, you know.
okay, so you have a good variety of rice. Do you have corn?
Yeah. Uh, uh, corn. Yeah, yeah.
Maize? Corn, you know?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Um, the thing is though, I'm trying to think of what's filling. Okay, so tell me what's expensive there. Is
Um, like the fish in the supermarket. It's quite pricey. Then like the exotic foods. Like the special uh, foods over there. They're quite pricey. It's basically you can if you go to shops like restaurants, you can eat rice over there, and it's quite cheap. Yeah, and then you have like the exotic rice with all the the herbs, the stuff that make your the taste good and all that.
that's yeah,
Uh,
that's more expensive,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Don't
Yeah,
eat, don't waste your time with that stuff, man. It's just like it's not worth it. It's just it's you can make it better without even have to worrying about that. Like the- okay, so rice is a very easy thing to make. You can buy a lot of it for not very much, and it feeds a lot. Like it can feed a lot of people with a small amount. But it needs to be added with something. Now, vegetables are they affordable? Are they cheap?
oh yeah, yeah, they're cheap.
Okay, so that's not the issue then. It's the meats. It's the meats that are causing you the sort of the difficulty in providing a balanced meal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, how about this? Lentils. Are they cheap?
Uh, um, lentils. What's that?
It's a type of legume. Let me hold on. I'm gonna look it up online. Lentil. Um, it's an edible legume. I'll send
Is
you
it
a.
fish?
What's that?
Is it fish or
No, no,
meat
no,
or
no, no.
vegetable?
It's a legume is like a bean, I guess. I just put in the chat. I put a link.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like a soup, lentil soup.
Well, you can have it in soup, but you
Yeah,
can have it as a salad, and it's very much like rice, where you have to soak it sometimes, and then it
yeah,
expands. And even if you put a little bit of amount in a bowl, then the whole bowl is full once it's like absorbed the water.
yeah.
Lentils. Hold on. Let's see. Lentil translate to Sinhalese. Let's see. Let's see if that works. Maybe I can try. I can't say that. Okay, I'm
Okay,
gonna
yeah,
put the
yeah. I
link
know.
for you. I'm gonna put the link for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I know.
I
We
thought it would at
eat it
least.
over here.
Hold on. Let me. Oh, paripu.
Haripu.
Oh yeah,
Paripu.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We eat that daily, if you know what I mean.
Oh, so you're
That's
sick.
in
Are you? So
every.
you're sick of it then?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
damn it.
Just
Okay. Okay.
uh,
We'll figure
yeah,
something out. Because
and
that's
they're
that's
so
filling,
cheap
man.
that
That's filling. That's got your protein. Because that's the thing. You need
yeah,
to balance your carbos, your protein, and your veg. So since
yeah.
veggies are
We eat.
cheap, that shouldn't be a problem. Um, maybe you're just tired of the routine. Maybe you're just tired
Yeah,
of
exactly.
just that
Yeah,
it seems
you
like it's
know.
the same. It although you could probably vary it up in the sense that the way that you prepare it. So do you like spicy food?
No, not a lot, but it's usually spicy over here.
Hmm. How about soups? Do you like soups?
No, not really. We
Okay.
usually have them, so
Do you like grilled meats?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But
Now,
it's hard to come by.
now I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out what way around it there is. Now, do you when you do have meat, do you grill it? Do you bake it? Do you boil it? Do you?
Uh, we boil it, we add the spices in, and then it's like comes like a curry. We
Oh,
have it
okay.
like
Yep.
curry, yeah. Or we put it in the oven. It's yeah, not all the time, but in special occasions. And yeah, so over there in your place, like, what's your favorite food?
Steak,
Uh,
cow steak.
yeah. I mean, they're to be honest, they taste so good when you're young, but when you get older, it's like, you're scared because your teeth are gonna come off biting that. You know what I
No,
mean?
well, that actually now goes back to what I was saying earlier. Is that that won't happen if you have the right cut of meat. Because that happens only when you have really cheap, shitty meat. Where your
Yeah.
when it's a proper steak, your teeth should just glide through it. It should come apart like butter. That is a proper steak. Now, yeah, they're going to be expensive and they're going to be hard to come by, but that is what it should be. That other stuff, the stuff that's hard to eat, that stuff needs to be boiled. It needs to be put in a stew. It needs to be put in a slow cooker. And that needs to be
Yeah.
broken down over, say, 8 hours on low. And that will come out very good. Do you have access to a slow cooker?
Um, uh, no, not really. We have um a gas cooker. You use the gas to
No, I
heat
know. Yeah,
up.
a range, yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Because a slow cooker, what it does is it heats the material very slowly, and it's covered by a lid, a glass lid, and it's on. You can have it on low for 8 hours, or high on 4, and all these ingredients that you put in there basically cook themselves. And the best part is because of the combined heat, it helps break down material, especially tissue, meat tissue.
Yeah,
And for example, a pork shoulder, which might be somewhat tough normally, will break down to the point where it's very fibrous and becomes very easy now to break apart. So it's useful in the sense of taking a cut of meat that might not normally taste good, trying to eat grilled, and you're
yeah,
slow cooking it so it breaks it down, and all the spices and all the different ingredients that you added in there will further complement that, so that when you pull it out, you can either make a sandwich out of it, like a wrap if you want, or put it into a bowl and eat it like a stew, because there's going to be big parts and chunky parts and stuff in there too. Not just, it's not going to be a liquid stew or a soup. That's what a soup is. It's liquid. But a stew has chunky things in there and it's thick. You could do that if you wanted to.
yeah.
But
I mean,
the
yeah,
biggest issue seems to be for you is the cost of meat, and that's probably what's inhibiting your ability to create a variety in your meals, because everything else, you've got the components necessary to literally provide any sort of side or entree. Um, so really, I don't know what
yeah,
to do in regards to the meat thing. I can provide you recipes, but I can't provide you economic relief.
yeah, yeah. That's fine. It's all right.
But you have a lot of options out there. And even, I mean, the big thing is, I don't think that you've probably been exposed to much food of other cultures, have you?
Um, yeah, not really.
And I can't
Like,
blame you
like
either,
what?
because there's not
Like,
much on Sri Lanka anyways. So,
yeah.
you know, so is it Sri Lanka or Ceylon? Which would be the better way to say it?
It's over here we say Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Ceylon is like another way of saying it, but it's not popular. It's Sri Lanka.
I know, but I mean, what's more appropriate? I don't know which one's used. I know that you and the Tamils have the problems. So one of them calls it Ceylon and one of
Uh,
them Sri Lanka.
yeah, we call it Sri Lanka.
Okay. Well, I won't say the C word then.
Oh
I,
yeah, it's fine. Whatever you
I'm
want.
just joking around, man.
Uh,
But Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, when it comes to the food, and I am a big fan of Southeast Asian food in multiple varieties. I don't know what to recommend in regards to the meat issue because it,
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you already know what you want in regards to how you want to complement your food. You know, you already know the basics and stuff, but the only thing that's holding you back from really having the feast that you want is the cost of food. And I'm surprised that even fish, you said fish was expensive there, but if you're close to the
Uh,
coast, shit, it should be fucking
yeah.
cheap.
There's like places to go, like fish market. The fishermen, they catch it off the sea. They bring it to the, market and they sell it over there. And usually that fish is like fresh, they catch it immediately. Um, yeah, and the fish in the supermarket are quite pricey as well, and they're like even better, you know what I mean? Like I think they're like exotic fish. So I mean the price is high to be honest for like everything.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. There's not much you can do. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe try to make
Okay.
friends
Yeah.
with the farmer or something, you know?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll thanks for the call. Yeah, I'll
Thanks for giving us
listen.
your unique insight. We always love to hear from everyone. And yeah, definitely hope that that food situation improves for you and you can get back to enjoying some very good, delicious meals.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Take care. And yep, there goes Namesh from Sri Lanka. And we appreciate his call. Let's see here. I think I got a message. Oh, yeah, just another person informing me of their life. And the image that you should be seeing right now on screen is of Chinese dim sum, something that I'm personally a huge fan of. And the great thing about the Chinese dim sum is that the concept is a la carte. And for those that don't understand, that is a French term that is used essentially to describe the way that food is presented. So they're all ordered separately as opposed to you making one big order at once. And it is probably some of the most delightful food that you will have. Now, one aspect of dim sum is that you sit down and you choose from the menu and they'll bring this stuff to you, and as you eat you might see a cart come by with a server and they have multiple items on their cart and you can say I want that and they'll then give that to you and you can continue that to your heart's content until obviously they stop selling dim sum or things run out, which happens quite often actually. So that experience alone adds to the enjoyment of the whole thing. It's not just eating and it's not just enjoying good quality food made well that's attractive to look at, but the ambience and the experience adds to that enjoyment. Let's go back to the chat here. We got Jeebus the God says that was a great call. Dave, you did good. I do. Mrs. Falmouth Ken says, I'm making a fresh pot of sauce and ravioli. Bene, bene, signora. And yeah, we should know that Mrs. Falmouth Ken is a very accomplished chef in her own right. And I've seen photos of the lobsters she's actually cooked up for Ken. And well, and what else was there? There was many. I've seen many different videos, but every time I see them, or there's the photos, every time I'm thinking to myself, this lady knows how to cook, and she treats her husband very well. She's not lazy, and she's definitely not stupid. Sorry, let me regain my composure from dropping a few double entendres there and a couple of cheap shots. But regardless, dim sum is definitely something you got to experience. And oh, back to Mrs. Famous Ken. Did he send you the stuffed peppers I made? Yes, that's one that I was forgetting. And yes, my mouth drooled a lot from seeing those. They were, and I actually told him that cheese coverage was fucking dead on. And that's another thing. Like I'm looking at that stuff. If I was asked to be a food judge, I'd be on the ranks with Gordon Ramsay. Food judge, not ability. So don't get it twisted. But no, that cheese coverage was absolutely perfect. The charring was exactly how it needed to be. Wow. This 10 out of 10 gold ribbon. It was that good looking, and I'm sure it tasted great. Funny thing is, though, when I asked Ken what was in it, well, what do you expect a big lug like that to say? Oh, there was rice and some meat or something. It tasted good. It's like, but what specifically? I don't know. It's like, was it maybe some sausage? Yeah, I think it was some sausage. It's like, just get me the recipe, damn it. Like, stop making me try to guess what was in there, And he told me, like, he would just inhale these things. And I don't doubt it. I mean, they looked fucking awesome. But, yeah, I've seen many a creation. And it's also, it's fun to document your food in regards to these photos and stuff. And you don't necessarily need to put them online or anything. But just to see, have a memory of what you made, maybe a guideline as well. Perhaps you want it to present it a different way, or it looks better, aligned differently on the plate. So it's just an idea that you can utilize if you want to go into preparing meals for others and trying to make them look good. That definitely can help when you have a reference to go on when you take a photo of your previously made meal. Kevin's Toy Life brings up a great point that I'm sure literally countless other people totally understand and feel themselves. I loved cooking with my mom when I was young. I'm thinking, what kid wouldn't and what kid didn't? Because that was that great opportunity where mom asked for your help. She couldn't do it without your help, so she asked for your help. And you're there in the pits looking over these things you've never seen before, all these weird contraptions and things that make these loud noises and shiny objects. And you're asked to help out with this and then, do something that you've never done before. Like, yep, you get to press that button, or you actually get to put that in the oil, or you get to drop that into the boiling water. And it does definitely not only connect to the whole feeling of, childhood and being around, a caregiver like your mother, but also that feeling of being introduced to a new topic, something that you can do yourself and that can feed others and brings other people joy and stays with you. Next comment in the chat is Sonic Boom says, I'm making a homemade pizza with some coconut flour, vegan, pepperoni, and cheese. It's going to be da bomb. Interesting. Coconut flour. Not sure if I've tried that. But that's another option when it comes to flours. There's a lot of flours out there. Flour bases to use for baking or cooking. I mean, like flours that you smell, sort of thing. So, if you don't like white flour, you prefer brown flour, you want to experiment, there's a lot of grain type flours out there, rice flour. There's so much that you can use. And it just takes a little bit of experimenting and just a little bit of research as well. You just have to be willing to read a few things, read a few articles, and try a few experiments. Again, there's really no way to know the end result until you do it. And it's good to document this as well. You want to make sure that you know what you're putting into things, and at least a roundabout idea. And we're going to get into this later, but this is true. This is absolutely true in my beliefs. And before I go on to say that, let's just continue on with the chat. Sonic Boom says it's actually good for pizza, not too much, but healthy too. Okay. It's actually good for pizza, not too much, but healthy too. Okay. You smell it more than you taste it. Sure. Shout out to Real Talk Metaphor Messiah. What's the word, Dave Rose? We're talking food, all different sorts. We've got open Skype lines if you want to call in, and anybody else for that matter. We're all just talking foods. Too many chefs. That's the whole gag here, is that the more people we get on the call, we can be like too many chefs, and Dave Rose can yet again laugh at those that thought he couldn't laugh at himself. So there we go. 2 for 1. You get 2 birds stoned at once. Then Kevin's Toy Life says, I have my own catering job on the side. Nice. Nice, man. I wish I had the facilities necessary that I could get the approval, because, if you're doing things legit, and I don't know if you are and you don't have to say, but you kind of need some of those permits and stuff. And I wish I could actually do that, because I would fucking love to have my own catering job on the side. I have to go black market from now on. But Sonic Boom continues, says, I'm worried about you in that Vegas cartel. Real talk. Be careful. The community loves you. Come on, man. Keep that talk somewhere else. We're talking food. Let's see here. Sonic Boom says, continuing on with the Vegas cartel talk. And everyone knows that no one, you don't talk about Vegas cartel. But back to the discussion at hand. We were discussing food itself and the great things that come with it. I'll talk about this in the future, and I'm going to go into detail. And I'm sure that there's other people that understand exactly what I'm saying. Perhaps I won't be as efficient as they might be. But when it comes to cooking, there's a feeling. You follow. It's like the Force. It literally is. When you're cooking, things come to you. You understand what you're making. If you put yourself in tune with it, that's the big thing. And yeah, this might sound crazy or whatever, but I promise you, this is exactly the way it is. And like I said, I have no doubt that other people will wholeheartedly agree with this. But when it comes to cooking, you get this feeling. And you understand how much salt you're going to need, how much pepper, even before, you don't even have to taste it. You just know. Like it starts to build, that flavor starts to build in your head, in your taste buds. You know what this tastes like. And then you start to consider another option. Well, maybe a little bit of cinnamon might spice things up just right. And then it's like an epiphany almost, but you don't even have to open the cinnamon. You don't have to smell it or taste it. Like that taste changes in your mouth and in your mind. That you just know. And it's even beyond that. There's no thoughts to it. It flows from you. You just know what to do. You have the components there in front of you. Your hands just go to them, and you mix it, and you just know the quantity, the manner on how to apply it. It's something that to me lacks words, and perhaps that's just my problem. But it is something that I've experienced, and I do see that apparently Mrs. Foulmouth Ken also agrees, because she says, yes, so true. But this doesn't come overnight. It comes after time. It comes when you start to get closer connected to your food, to how you're making it, where it's coming from, how it's prepared, and how it's then presented. And that, once you get onto that path, once you start to realize those key points and how they all come together, and it all comes together at a different rate for everyone. It can't be forced. Now, it can be taught, but you can only process so much, and for some it just might not eventually come at all. But it's a feeling, and if you're into it, it comes naturally. So that's something that you can look forward to if you want to get more into cooking. That not only becomes easier because of your continued experience, but there's something more esoteric to it. Something that is beyond words, but is sprung from you. A creativity, but also an understanding, a balance almost to what you have in front of you, what you are preparing. So, yes, cooking can get that esoteric and passionate and extreme. And Kevin's Toy Life makes a great point. Actually, I don't remember who I was talking to about this the other day. This is not a point of contention, but a point of consternation, perhaps. Trying to think of the best word to succinctly describe it, because I know there's a lot of pussies out there who apparently don't like it when I use big words they don't understand, because I'm trying to actually be as accurate as possible. But the point that he's making is, that's true. I only use recipes for when I'm baking. Oh, now that's something I want to have a separate stream on, maybe even a debate. But some people are of the mind that baking requires absolute recipes. They cannot be deviated even by a gram. They have to be exact. And there's other people who say, no, I know, as in I can adjust the ratios, I can adjust the proportions, or even the amounts, and it's not going to affect the overall recipe adversely. Those two camps are very extreme, I've seen, and I think they both have some very good points, and also have justification for such for such stances. But to find the actual answer would at least require a debate or a discussion. And I don't think there could be I don't know if you could find an answer. But regardless, it is a topic that I want to go deeply into, especially with those that know about it, so that we can discuss it and give it proper justice. And Mrs. Foulmouth's Ken, I would love if at one point you could call up and give us some of your experience and such, and perhaps even discuss this particular topic, because to me it's a big topic. It's a topic that I have not been able to find a satisfying solution to, or at least an answer that left me settled. I still haven't found a consensus, and I'm very curious. So Chad says, cooking is a science, baking is like math. Yeah, I've heard people say that as well, but you know what? To me, if we're going to use that analogy, I would say cooking is like art. And baking is like math. Because, as I was explaining earlier, the versatilities of certain foods, it is truly artisan-like to be able to make a totally different meal by literally adjusting one or two ingredients. But yeah, the baking is like math thing. I guess that's the sort of short and skinny topic that I'm gonna have to discuss and want to recruit people to come and talk about, because again, it's been an obsession of mine to figure out, because I have several bakers in my family that are light years beyond my capabilities, and they have views as well. So let's go back to the chat. Jeebus the God says, Dave Rose, do you know of the fish that people love, but it's killed wrong or cooked wrong? It's poison. Have you heard of it? I believe you're talking about blowfish. It's a Japanese fish. Yeah, yeah, it's a puffer. Yeah, Chad says it's a puffer. It's a type of puffer fish. Yeah, mugu, I think. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. Why don't you do that? But again, that's not really my bag, baby. I mean, I don't need to eat dangerous foods. That's another thing. Some people consider it thrilling to eat foods that are supposedly dangerous and stuff. No thanks. You know, I'm good. Let's see here. In the chat, cooking is an experimental art. Nah, I would say cooking is an art. Chad says, I agree, art is a better word for it. Art sciences. Although those words kind of fit, the problem is that those are commie words that the neoliberals put into universities. So we know it's it's really an oxymoron because it's either art or science. Because there's no real way of describing art with science, as in the sense that science can't say, well, art is this. No, you can't. But that's another thing altogether. Let's not get bogged down into all these semantics and details, although we know that I could definitely do so. Mrs. Falmas Ken says, the ratio of flour to liquid to oil, butter, is important to overall outcome. Spice, sand, flavorings are to the person's particular... Oh, maybe spice and flavorings are to the person's particular taste. Tiff says fugu is strictly controlled. That's what it was, fugu. Strictly controlled by law in Japan and several other countries, and only chefs who have qualified after 3 or more years of rigorous training are allowed to prepare the fish. I've seen a small little documentary on that, and yeah, apparently they need massive certification, and they're held in high esteem because there are very few of them that can actually do it. Exactly, Chad. Why risk it? What's the point of consuming something that could kill you when there's so many other great, delicious things in Japan that you could eat, and you don't need to be hunting the dolphins or the whales or, the blowfish. But yes, cooking is an art. At least I believe so, and many do as well. And I believe it's much more versatile than baking, but I still want to have that nice in-depth discussion as to is baking math, because it's just one of those things that definitely has always fascinated me, and I need an answer. I need an answer to know. Oh, let's do this. Let's talk about a little barbecue. So I just switched this back to the Middle Eastern mock-up here. Oh, the fitre, I think, is on the upper left-hand corner, or it was, and that's got lamb in there. It's spicy. It's actually on Middle Eastern, I think it's egg bread, but it's delicious. So good. But the image that we are looking right now is carne asada in Argentina. So basically, this is just a little spot on the street in Argentina where they have what you could call traditional barbecue or asado. When I hear traditional barbecue, I'm actually thinking, and I'm going to have to show you a photo of this, but I'm actually thinking of how it was done in the old days. Or at least where the concept comes from, is in Argentina in the camps out in the country where all the cows were basically raised and allowed to graze and so forth. So imagine like the cowboys of America letting the cows on the on the trail and stuff. Well, imagine that, but much larger and with more cows. So they would basically dig a pit into the ground and then they would put all these different sorts of meats to grill upon the charcoals or hanging from actual spits, grills, and other sort of contraptions. And I'm only laughing now because the image that you guys are going to see in a bit is going to be crazy. There's quite a few that you guys will have to see. And I'm not able to see your comments right now, so just bear with me. So, okay, so we got that. All right, back to the chat. I haven't eaten too much deer meat, actually, Jeebus the God. The thing is, though, hunters, quite smart. When they hunt their deer, they don't share it with anybody. They cut it all up, or they send it to a butcher, and they get it all vacuum packed, and then they put it into one of their big freezers, and they freeze it, and they have food literally for the next year or half year, depending on the size. So, you're not going to go to your local McDonald's in Canada and say, hey, can I get a deer burger? Be like, no problem, Bob. I got one here right back here, and it's all warmed up for you. A little poutine. So, no, we don't have that. And, yeah, of course, there are upscale restaurants where you could, as well as many other, like moose or many other delicacies. But, yeah, most smart people who hunt for deer keep their meat. So they're not being greedy. No, don't hate on them. Deer meat is better than any other meat around. No, I disagree. Bison is probably one of the greatest meats ever. Is it as good as a domesticated cow? Doubtful. Because to me, the domesticated cow truly does have the greatest cuts of meat. And I'm a huge fan of pork. Huge fan. So it's a very tough call for me, but again, maybe it's just the Argentine blood because, carne asada, la vaca santa. I just fucking love steak. Fucking love steak. Jeebus the God continues to say, do you know if any other countries eat horse meat? Yeah, a lot of countries around the world eat horse meat. France, Vietnam, Mongolia, there's places in Russia, where else? I think in northern places of Iran. Kazakhstan, I believe. A few of the stands. The Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. Damn, I've got a great memory, man. Such a fucking awesome memory. Not just even just the locations, but the names, the proper pronunciations. Damn. Oh, let's continue with the chat here, because I always like these comments. Let's see here. Dave, don't you have any family that hunts? Well, I have an uncle in Oregon, but he's sort of gotten too old to hunt, unfortunately. No, the photos that I could show you of him, of his hunt sprees and stuff, just beautiful. Got himself a beautiful elk, this massive fucking, I think it was a silver trout. Can't remember what type. It was huge. And then there was, there was a bear. He got a bear, a nice black bear. Yeah, awesome man. And I don't know about my family in Argentina, about what they're hunting. So, if they're hunting. I do have one uncle that I know that does, he has a plane. So it goes to show how well off he is, but he's never offered to fly me down here. Not that he has a fucking jet, but still, he's old money. I know they've got a place out in like the far countryside, like Patagonia type thing. And there you do need a rifle for some of the animals. There's pumas and shit. I don't know if he hunts at all, but I do know that he has firearms there, although it's really difficult to be allowed to own firearms in Argentina. So, again, he's got some sort of influence. Let's see here. Jeebus the God says they could share with you. Ugh. You don't seem to understand that the majority of my family lives in Argentina. So, yeah, I don't have any immediate family that's currently hunting and giving me food. So, Sonic Boom says, Dear Mr. Rose, as an Argentinian, how much chimichurri have you consumed? Not enough, to be quite honest. That shit is delicious. And it goes so well on grilled meat. It's just so damn good. If you've never had a chance to try chimichurri, I really urge you to do so. The way that they prepare these herbs and stuff, it's just, and the vegetables, and it's just, it goes so well. Another more intriguing question. Sonic Boom says, Dear Devious Dave Rose, as an Argentinian, have you ever soaked your palate with the delightful dulce de leche? I've got into dulce de leche induced liver comas. Like, dude, dulce de leche, and that's I guess something I'm going to have to cover on this channel at some point in depth, but dulce de leche literally is the greatest caramel to exist on the planet, because it's different from traditional English caramel or what we now have as American caramel. So, damn, like, that's a great point. And I might actually have to discuss the different types of dulce de leche and so forth. It'd be nice if I had some Latinos here to confirm this sort of thing, because, you know, I sound like a snake oil salesman right now, telling you this is the greatest thing ever, and I can't get anyone to come and verify. But it is substantially different from English caramel, which I think it's a different salt taste. It's not saltier, but it's not less saltier. It's a different salt taste and a different consistency. Well, American caramel, much, much sweeter. It's too sweet, actually. I think did I miss a call? Hold on a sec, people. Someone's harassing me with a link. Let's see if this person is going to get shit on for sending me a link that has nothing to do with me. Oh, it does have everything to do with me. Then I guess I best shut the fuck up. Okay, well, you sure showed me. Okay. You know, that foot in my mouth tastes delicious. I think I'm going to take it out and grab myself a little of some humble pie with a side of crow. And it wasn't me, Davey. I didn't kill them. I just found it on the side of the road. So back to the chat here. Good caramel treat. Just cooking and listening to this work before work, says Sonic Boom. Jeebus says, I'm just eating pizza, enjoying Dave Rose stream. Well, thank you for joining us. Speaks the truth. Yes, I do try. About everything. Ooh, you're making me chubby. And it's not the food. Sonic Boom continues with, my homemade pizza did not turn out the way I wanted it today. Oof, I'm sorry. Yeah. I find homemade pizza, the biggest challenge obviously is just getting the dough at the proper consistency. And that can, depending on how you want to do it. I don't like the rolling pin, but sometimes you need it. Once you get good enough, you won't need the rolling pin. But you gotta start somewhere. Okay, and until you get familiar with the consistency of the dough and how it functions and how it's supposed to function when you're supposed to be tossing it the way that the experts do, Until you reach that point, you're going to face challenges, and you will have to rely sometimes on a rolling pin. Just keep that in mind and don't let it frustrate you. You don't have to be, slinging pizzas like fucking Papa John from the get-go to get started, okay? I mean, that again is what the biggest take that you should get from this takeaway that you should get from this stream and every stream that will come from it of Too Many Chefs is that don't let it overwhelm you, because I know it will, at least for some. But take it slow, take it steady, and know that you can learn these things and there's no pressure. And there's always people out there that aren't judgmental, that are more than willing to help you because they take joy in sharing their knowledge of food, which already is a joy, with other people who appreciate that and also want to do the same thing. So it's a supportive group of countless individuals that do exactly what's been done since time immemorial. When two tribes might meet together, they might share two recipes, and those recipes would then sort of evolve and spread and even become adopted by people who weren't part of those tribes, those two separate tribes, and then become further spread out. And this now becomes a food that is enjoyed by many people, all because of the meeting of two groups. Let's go back to the chat. Apparently, the Sonic Boom's dough was too chewy. The temp was too high on the oven at 450, so the cheese cooked too quick, but the dough did not. Ugh. Says 400 Fahrenheit would have been better. Jeebus the God says, if you make homemade pizza, never go over 420. Well, I don't know. The other day I made some fucking amazing pizza. Be sure to check out my Instagram to see those images. But I made it, I believe, at 425, and it took about 20 minutes or so. And that, 450 is really, really strong. But I got by with 425, and that worked fine with some dough with me. So let's see here. Jeebus the God continues. 420 for 20 minutes or so will do. Well, that's 5 off from what I said, but yeah, basically that's what worked for me. And it also, this is the only way that you can learn, is to experiment, because if you like a softer crust, you might want to leave it in for a little less. If you like it a little harder, or perhaps a little more toasty brown bottom, you want to leave it a little earlier. You might also want to consider utilizing a pan that has holes underneath to allow for a more full cooking of the bottom of the crust. And Sonic Boom says, yeah, I wanted to cook fast, but never thought of the even cook through of the cheese and dough. Yeah, that's another thing, is that patience is a virtue. When it comes to cooking, it can, if you rush, you'll fuck up. It's unfortunate, but it happens almost every time. When you rush, you fuck up. You have to be slow and steady, and take your time. And if your time is limited, you gotta really consider what you're making. You can't just make that. You want to make that meal, that nice, like, medium rare steak, when you got to catch that bus in like 5 minutes and you just got it like blue. So it's very important. That's why I said lists, schedules, menus, items, and timing are so important when it comes to food. Because then everything else is a cakewalk. You've got your plan already set. You know what you're going to make. You've got the ingredients. You've already planned it out. It's just boom, 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 boom. You spend less time in the kitchen. You spend more time with people enjoying the food. Back to the chat. Sonic Boom says, I also didn't let my dough cool down. It was still very warm. Yep, I used the whole pan. That's good. Pizza stones work great. Actually, yes. Very good point, Chad. And if you do like to make your own pizza, consider using one of those. You put it in your oven. It's I think it's usually granite, but it's a stone basically, and it heats up and it lets you cook your pizza very well especially in the similar line as having a stone brick pizza, stone bake pizza oven, as you've seen videos of and so forth. And yeah, it'd be great to have one, but this is the next best thing, and they're not too expensive, but they're not cheap either. And you don't want to go with a cheap one either, because you don't want that shit shattering in your fucking oven. Don't buy from China. So, yeah, I'd say consider that if you want to start to consistently bake pizzas. Back to the chat. Jeebus the God says, this is a very good channel, I guess. CH. Well, thank you. Mrs. Foulmouth says, you have inspired me to now make homemade garlic bread and fresh garlic. Sounds delightful. And that's another thing. When it comes to garlic is very versatile, very useful, extremely fucking healthy. And it shouldn't be bought from China. I recommend finding yourself a mason jar. You can find a smaller one, something that's sealable that you can put in the fridge. Get yourself as many, I would say, trying to think of how many would fit. I don't know, 5 garlics. See, the problem is in regards to how much space you have. But I mean, you could literally add 100 cloves of garlic to a food processor and chop them up all nice, and that'll probably fit all into a mason jar. You fill that up with olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, and this is now something that you have in store, available and ready to go. What's it good for? You're gonna fry something. You're gonna make something in the frying pan. That is perfect. You can use it to provide the necessary lubricant on the pan, as well as to provide some fresh garlic on there. Again, it must always remain covered by the olive oil. If uncovered garlic is left too long to expose to oxygen, it will start to oxygenate. And not only brown, but start to rot. So it has to always stay submerged under olive oil, which will help maintain it. So this helps not only lubricate, prepare, and flavor the pan, but it also provides garlic as well, which has been infused, which the oil has been infused with the garlic flavor, and vice versa. So now it's prepared to add to anything. Could be steak, could be chicken, could be anything you want. This can also be added as a topping for pizza, for example. If you want to drizzle on olive oil with some, freshly cut garlic. You can add as a topping for bread, for a sandwich, for example, in a soup. It's very, very versatile, and it's extremely healthy, especially in that combination. Look for the meal types that are so beneficial to people around the world that keep them alive for over 100 years, like the Mediterranean diet, which primarily includes olive oil and garlic. So consider that as a useful life hack that you can utilize, and just have a good garnish and ingredient to be able to add to just about anything. Back to the chat. Sadapoom says, what is the best way to use garlic, powder, butter, or cloves? It depends on what it's going on, but I always go powder first. No, powder's not that good. The raw cloves are always the best. Raw garlic is always the best. Now, if you're going to eat raw garlic without any oil on there, or added later, not submerged, and sort of marinated, expose it to oxygen for about 15 minutes. That's gonna open up the garlic to actually provide better nutrients and to cook better and also taste better. What I was referring to previously is that when it's, if you're using it in submerged in oil, but then it's, left unsubmerged from oil for more than a few days, that's where you start to see the rot and stuff. But if you want to truly activate the power of garlic to use to cook at that moment or today, like, in a bit, you chop it up and you let it rest for about 15 minutes. And then you're good to go. So that's definitely something that's a little life hack that I recommend, and very useful in multiple ways, both health-wise in its benefits from its oxygenation, but also from the flavoring that comes from that. Let's see here, back to the chat. Kevin's Toy Life says, I like to cook the crust by itself in the oven halfway, then build the pizza. That's another way. Maybe we're going to have a pizza stream. And I'm talking the, Epstein Podesta type, pizzas. But in regards to strategies on how to cook a pizza, or how do people cook a pizza, because that is a well-known strategy that I'm aware of, that I know people use that strategy. And I've used that strategy in the past, although I have my own strategy now that does not include that. It's actually making the pizza all at once without going through that process. However, that process is very important depending on the way you make the pizza. Again, it's like art. It just depends on, for example, depends on the canvas or the fucking type of paint that's used. If it's oil, if it's acrylic, if it's, watercolor, So that's something actually that I would love to have discourse with other people about, especially those that are knowledgeable about it, because they can give their insights as to why it is beneficial or why they just prefer it. Maybe it's easier for them. Maybe it's something that allows them to improve other things on in regards to flavor. So I'm definitely very interested in hearing what other people say in regards to their strategies in cooking pizza and so forth. So let's see here. Sonic Boom is trying to kill me with nostalgia and food, which isn't not a bad way to go. Hold on, let me just, before I say that comment, yeah, that would have helped. I guess Sonic Boom's referring to something. Oh, about putting the pizza halfway. Okay. Sonic Boom then continues by saying, I agree. The cloves are the healthiest way to go. Yes. And it's just so delicious, man. Like, garlic is so delicious. And garlic bread. I mean, like, such a perfect combination. Damn. And now he's going for the low blow here. Have you had milanesa, Dave? I'm in love with milanesas, just like I'm in love with empanadas. Milanesa, for those that don't know, is chicken fried steak or chicken fried stickin'. Chicken fried chicken. Sticking to the chicken. Thing is, though, it's different. Okay, the way they make it in America, they end up using buttermilk. And of course it tastes fucking awesome. Of course it does. That's not the issue here. Milanesa is an Italian food, okay? It originates in Italy, and it is essentially a breaded chicken cutlet, okay? So if you've ever seen some of those Italian sandwich shops and stuff, apart from the veal and stuff, Milanesa is what they serve. Now, they maybe for the mangia cakes, which is what some of the old school Italians here call like the new blood that don't even know how to speak Italian. But some of them might think that that the sandwich is just a chicken cutlet. No, it's a milanesa. Now, it's breaded, but it's washed essentially in egg and then flour, and that's it. And breadcrumbs, right? But there's spices that are added to the breadcrumbs. Now, this is where you hit it up with some garlic powder, onion powder. You can add other things like garlic salt. A little bit of salt's never bad. Parsley, dried parsley. Although you can add fresh. And a few other ingredients. But it depends on the region, depends on many different things. But that's a basic sort of, ground rule for that. And the most common way is to fry these things. And they are fucking delicious. Now, you can bake them as well, and they taste just as good. Well, actually, no, they taste different, obviously. Let's not be dumb. They're delicious, nonetheless, but, the fried food's got the fried food advantage. Everything fried tastes awesome. But milanesa, I fucking love. It's delicious. And I believe that it is superior to the American fried steak. Or chicken fried steak. So, see? I don't even think about that stuff. I'm thinking about milanesa. And it's just a common thing in Argentina. Because of the huge Italian population, it's just something that is not just so common, but it was like a weekly meal for me when I was a kid for years. And always loved it. We got Mrs. Foulmouth saying Kenny loves chicken fried steak. So he doesn't like his Italian heritage. He doesn't like milanesa. He'd prefer to go with the inbred American, Southern American stereotype. Anywho, I'm just joking around. We all know that the rednecks are much more intelligent than the pedophiles in Hollywood or the Eastern elites living in New England. So, excuse me. And just a reminder for those that are tuned in right now, all 22 of you, thank you again for joining us here to discuss this great and beautiful topic, food. And I would encourage anybody that is listening to call me up. If you want to say something about food, please let me know. If you want to give your experiences or perhaps give a recipe, lines are always open to you. Now, let's look a little bit at some Argentine asado, as we had said that we would talk a little more about. Now, this is a competition, so let's not get it crazy. But I want to show you to what extent Argentines consider asado important. That's a field of ribs. And no, this is not Romania with Vlad the Impaler. This is Argentina, where you literally have hundreds of delicious cow ribs cooking, barbecuing, smoking, absorbing that delicious flavor. Imagine being there while these are smoked and cooked throughout the day. And then you finally have this fall off the bone, smoky, delicious flavor that didn't need to be overwhelmed and dumped in either barbecue sauce or A1. See, I'm starting to puke here. A1 steak sauce or fucking HP, I think it's called, or spices like overwhelmed. No, that's not how it goes. Not in Argentina. The cut is right. It needs hardly anything else. It doesn't need to be overwhelmed with all this garbage. Its flavor is innate and comes out with the proper cut and the proper cooking. That's a big thing. And I definitely recommend that people go and just Google Argentinian asado or Argentina asado. And you will find so many of these photos of all this great meat and of all different varieties. Now, this photo I just showed you, yes, it's all cow. But you will find these great arrays of meat. Again, I'm looking for a photo of the traditional asado where you have the pit. And this is what the gauchos, the Argentine cowboys, used to do, is dig this pit, fill it with wood, burn it down to the coals, and then start to put all the meat on there, as well as on hanging utensils and grills and other things. And of all different sorts of varieties. So this one here, for example, I think yes, this I believe you will like. A very delectable, beautiful image, sharing some of my heritage with you. And it's also the experience. Because when you're confronted with this at a large country event where there's massive horse races and this game called Pato, which is considered trying to actually, let's not go into that. It's a very difficult game to explain while we're talking food. So let's stay focused here, Dave. And look at that. I mean, for anyone who loves meat, that's heaven. And these events where the gauchos get together and they have their big festivals and stuff and share the food, you have this, but on a large scale. And even in the country, you will find places like this that are serving food and have a regular asado and just a huge variety of different foods that you can either pick from, little portions here and there, or just go nuts and just eat as much as you want of whatever. Now, Mrs. Falmouth Ken asks, what is my specialty dish that you make? That's a hard one to pick. Very, very difficult. It's like trying to choose a favorite child. I'm not sure if I can do it. There's things that I'm really good at, but what's my specialty? I don't know. I mean, I've made some very, what's the term? Not unusual things, but things that weren't very much like I would normally, like, that I would be the type of person to make them, sort of thing. That's a hard question. That really is. Because, I mean, there's dishes that I make that, say, my mom loves, that, when I asked her, like, you want me to make you some food? Yes, this one. It's like, again? It's like, yes. That's my potato sausage skillet. And yeah, I mean, that's the one that she loves. Trying to think of, I don't know, I mean, making a steak, that's not really a specialty, I don't think. It's just making a steak. I mean, I can make pizza, but I don't think it's my specialty. I like to make it, and I think I make it extremely well. As not just for me eating it and enjoying it a lot, but people telling me that. You got me. You got me. I can't answer that. Oh, so you knew that this was a trick question. Because she responds now, I could not answer that either. Yeah, thanks. Now we just had me just rambling around like an idiot. I wonder what's my specialty. I don't know. Let's go through it now. So yeah, but that's what happens when you start to get passionate about cooking and stuff. Is that now you're being forced to choose dishes, and that's a difficult one because you get joy from cooking regardless, and you get joy in improving your cooking. So it's how you're gonna pick your favorite. It's not easy. But yes, the experience of eating also has a big factor when it comes to the enjoyment and how it's presented and so forth. And this image, for example, I think makes a good point of that. But there's also just simple things of how food is spread over a table, what it looks like, when presented to the guests. And this definitely, I'm just trying to find the proper image here. I misplaced it, apparently. But yes, presentation's a big thing. That's what I'm trying to fucking say. So, obviously, when it comes to things like Thanksgiving, which is coming up next week for all those Americans out there, very often than not, you have the centerpiece, you have things that are set up and presented in a certain way so that it looks agreeable but also enticing to those that are viewing it. And this could even be simple things like appetizer plates, or it could be the full meal spread, the one that everyone is going to have access to and reach over and ask for somebody and pass to somebody else and so forth. So definitely presentation is a big thing when it comes to food. And just a reminder again, it seems like maybe some people are out cooking, but our phone lines are open. And when I say that, I mean Skype. So feel free to call in and share some of your thoughts, your recipes, and your ideas when it comes to cooking. Now, one thing I very much love and will talk about in the future is Latin American cooking. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dedicate an episode to perhaps each region of the world and highlight perhaps as many cuisines in that region, and if not, have to split them up. But for example, Hispanic food, which is far-ranging. There's a lot of different ethnicities and cultures, and the food varies dramatically from region to region, not to mention country to country. So that definitely can provide a full episode of discussion on all the different types of food, the material that are used, and the differences from one country to the next, or even from one group to the next, on how a food can change so dramatically and essentially be almost the same components. And you'll actually see this a lot in Mexico. Despite the fact that some people have this idea that Mexican food is always the same, the variety that you can find in Mexico in regards to their food is incredible. It's not the same in every region. It's actually quite substantially different, which makes it that much more amazing. And even the seafood, for example, they're on the coast, they use seafood, and that cuisine is obviously different from more inland where they have less access to fish. But it's just as delicious. It uses almost the same sorts of ingredients that are readily available, and it's a striking contrast to the other flavors that are available. So it's just truly amazing to see that can happen in one country alone, whether it be Mexico or even India, or even China. The cuisine in China is extremely varied, just like their ethnicities. They've got over 30 different ethnicities. They're all labeled Chinese and they're all Asian, but they're all from different regions. They're all very noticeably different physically. And as such, their regions have different customs and different food. And it's just amazing when you experience that difference through food. That's something that I just encourage so many people to do, especially when it comes to something like either Chinese food, Indian food, Latin American food, and actually food from around the world. African food, for example, like food that you can get in Tunisia, is totally different than what you can get in Ethiopia. Both cuisines very, very delicious. Morocco, delicious food there. Libya, yep, Libya actually has some good food. Where is it? Côte d'Ivoire, there's Ivory Coast, which is on the west coast of Africa. Nigeria has some very interesting cuisine there as well. Even in North America, but the North American palate has been somewhat dumbed down and diminished. So you will find some regions that are very lacking, or things tasting very similar. Another region, by the way, is the Mediterranean, and that alone is quite varied because although the materials are almost essential between Italy and Greece and, say, Lebanon, the food is different entirely. The way it comes out, and it might be made very similarly, but it's not exactly the same. The different spices, different flavors, different looks, and it all again goes back to the same ingredients, but is defined by the region, ethnicity, or culture that adapts them to their needs. So let me just quickly read up this comment here in the chat. So bear with me here because there's a fair bit to read. It's not a big deal. There's people telling me things that I'm not too concerned about, but that's fine. Regardless, let's talk some more food. We were talking, we got somebody new in the chat. We got Based Alcatraz. I'm going to cook some pork loin when I get home. What would you recommend in spices, seasoning? Okay. Now, I love pork loin personally. I love to cook it in the oven. Thing is, though, I don't know if it's defrosted or if it's actually just, raw or whatever. One of my recipes is basically, obviously you cover it with olive oil, onion powder, salt, pepper. What else was there? That's a recipe I should put in the book. Let's see here. I personally like to either chop up garlic and put that on the marinade. And the marinade actually, see, that's the thing though. The marinade actually might require. See, the problem is now it's anything. It could be literally, okay, olive oil, soy sauce, or Worcestershire sauce, chopped garlic, a little bit of honey, a little bit of ketchup, onion powder, half a teaspoon maybe, teaspoon of that, small teaspoon, garlic powder, same amount. You can do that, mix that as a marinade, coat that, and it should be resting. You've got to rest your pork loin. I don't agree with basically just putting it right on the either right on the grill or putting it right in the oven. Those fibers need to break down, and you need to infuse the meat with the flavor. I don't like the idea of necessarily poking too many holes in it. because the marinade should probably be able to break down the fibers and be infused properly. You may need to pop in a few holes, but you can also accomplish this somewhat if essentially you have your pork loin, you cut in some very small holes, but you stuff in a whole clove of garlic, and then you spread those around the loin itself, so they're not too close together, and the holes aren't too big. Like if you break them up too big, then although the clove will fit, it'll fall out. So you're gonna have to make a small hole, a small incision, and then push this thing in, and it should stay because the hole is small enough. Spread those around through the body, through the flesh sufficiently, and then from there you can do a marinade where those holes that are holding the garlic will help allow for some of that liquid to flow in, and therefore further marinade from the inside. But you will require marinade, in my opinion, and it needs to soak. It can't just be like, oh, I'm going to coat it for 15 minutes and we're good. And it's not, and especially with like some sort of barbecue sauce, all you're doing is coating hard meat. The meat, like, unless you want to beat your meat, and actually just soften the meat, tenderize, as the proper word is. You can't just coat it with this barbecue sauce shit. So I would highly recommend that it be either brined or marinated substantially, at least an hour, and allow the flesh to become soft enough that you can cook it in a fairly good time. You don't be waiting too long for that, and you don't want it to dry out either. It's a big importance of the marinade, is the marinade. And I personally have been getting big into brining pork as of late, and just finding different recipes and strategies and stuff. And very, very simple to brine pork, but damn, does it fucking bring out the flavor and just tenderize that meat so well. You don't have to beat this fucker down with a hammer or nothing. It's just so tender, and it's juicy. It's so juicy. And that's a big thing. That's what you want with your meat. You don't want dry meat. Let's go back to the chat. Sonic Boom says there's a raccoon by that pig head. Yeah, they ate a lot of weird things back in those days. Dark Emperor Striker says, Dave, is there a tablet that we can take that has all the essential minerals and balanced food in rather than physically eating food? I wish, but no. That'd be so fucking awesome. Just take one pill and you're fucking good. But no, there is no solution for that. And if there was, the pharmaceutical companies would keep it from us because it would be too detrimental to their bottom line. But I'm sure that something somewhere out there in a black budget project exists in exactly that manner. But as I said, as I was speaking earlier, I very much look forward to dedicating additional episodes on one region of the world and discussing the food that's located in that region or that's typical of the ethnicities or the cultures of that region, and really dig deep into either the origins of certain foods, which I think is always very cool to learn about, or other people's experiences, either making it or eating it, and just discovering new foods that you may have never known about. Perhaps you may have always eaten Chinese food, but you've never learned that they had so-and-so. And that piques your interest. And that gets you researching some more. So that's what I would like to do, is I'd like to share my experience with others and have them share their experience with me so that we can share our love of food and learn more, which again is just one of the greatest things ever. And that's why it's always been talked about in a very important manner. And it's not just through, say, Christianity, is that breaking bread with the stranger is an extremely important thing. not just for your faith, but for just for society in general. And sharing your culture by sharing your food is something that's been done for literally thousands of years, to the point where there's no tracking it because it's happened for so long. And it's extremely important to acknowledge it, because this is how certain divisions, certain differences become united through food. It can't be denied. And it's abundantly evident. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to get world peace, but we do understand that food does connect a lot of people. People are passionate about it, people enjoy it, and people like to share their knowledge of it. So this is the great understanding when it comes to food. Now, I want to pull up another image. And although I don't plan to necessarily go in depth in this, I want to discuss it nonetheless. So if you just bear with me here, I'm just going to try to pull it up. Oh, we've got JB in the chat. JB Sports Radio says, "I'll be posting pictures this year of my candy ham." Oof, that's titillating. It's got meat titillated. I've heard it's a challenge to candy those hams up proper, and I always look forward to JB's food knowledge, because he knows a fair bit. He makes some very good-looking meals as well, and he likes the meat. He's not one of these East Coast Bostonian soy boy pussies that only consumes, Costco grade soy. He actually eats what he hunts. It's not a deranged liberal cunt who thinks that all meat comes from the store and hunters are all immoral. And the guy's smart enough to have his freezer stocked because of his love for game and the Second Amendment. God bless you, good sir. God bless you. But food. Wonderful, wonderful food. Definitely not something that you're going to find at a buffet, because a buffet gives you absolute garbage. But when it comes to an actual meal, a meal that's properly planned, a meal that you spent time on, like that meal that's coming up for Thanksgiving, now that's a meal. That's a meal that you got to be ready for, looking forward to, because you're going to get that beautiful spread, that beautiful array of food, and that variety of flavors. Now, I'm wondering, is there anybody out there that would like to call in? Because I'm always open for some sort of input, but I don't want to keep people on for too long. After all, we have been going close to 3 hours, just 2 hours, 46 minutes, and just talking solely about food and nothing else. Showing yet again my versatility to run a show on my own on one topic. And yes, we can take calls, but I've been leading this show, bloody. Now, what I'm curious about is sandwiches, because we discussed this earlier. Bread, yes, it's not the greatest thing for you, but damn, do I love my sandwiches. I love my sandwiches. Could be on regular square bread, could be on a hoagie, submarine bun, Kaiser. Maybe it's just that I like bread. Probably I like bread. But then there's the magnificence of making your own sandwich, topping it with anything you want. Beautiful, delicious cold cut delis, cheeses, vegetables, mustard, sauces, mayonnaise. To me, the sandwich is one of the most versatile and greatest inventions ever to exist. And I think it's difficult to argue against that because, again, you can literally shoot a gun and eat a sandwich at the same time. Now, what's better than that? I mean, well, if you had a third arm and you could drink a beer at the same time, but, you know, one step at a time. Regardless, the versatility, that's another thing. Versatility is so key when it comes to food because it doesn't matter if you're literally using the same sort of ingredients. If you can vary them enough, and that could be with just a simple quantity, or with a little bit of spices, maybe a little bit of salt or some vegetables, whatever. If you vary it just slightly enough, you can actually get a totally different meal, totally different flavor. And the big thing behind that is the simplicity. When people finally clue in to how easy it is to vary your meals by just slightly changing the ingredients, and again, you only find this out when you try it out, then you realize the power you hold in your hands. Seriously. You have the ability to literally make a full spread meal for anybody that is flavorful, nutritious, delicious, and enough of a variety, regardless of the similar ingredients, that it provides that difference in that experience that people recognize. So, I very much encourage others to take upon themselves this interest in learning these little simple things because they literally are little life hacks. And I'm going to be providing a few of those in the free book that I will be publishing, the Community Cookbook, titled Pending. And I'm going to be teaching things as simple as how to make the perfect soft-boiled egg. And that is something that a lot of people today, especially younger people, have no knowledge about. But let me tell you, A, soft-boiled eggs rock. B, they're delicious. And C, they're so convenient and easy to make that they're perfect for a snack, for like a meal, or even, post-workout, whatever. They are awesome. And if you're not big on the consistency, well, yeah, you can make them hard-boiled if you want, and I can teach you how to do that too. But those are little simple things that I want to offer in this book. And it's not going to be very big at all. There's, going to be probably a couple of recipes of each item. So maybe a couple of appetizers, a couple of entrees, a couple of sides, a couple of salads, a couple of soups. So it won't be too long, but also you can be guaranteed I'm not going to give that bullshit that they do on the internet where you have to scroll, for 20 minutes until you finally find the ingredients and the fucking recipe. No, it's going to be very simple because, as you know, I'm very impatient to the stupids, so thus I'm not going to waste anybody's time. I treat others like I want to be treated, and I'm not going to waste your time. So, no, you're not going to find that bullshit in my book. You're going to find a simple recipe, explanation. This is awesome. This is how you do it. Here are the ingredients. Boom. Ingredients, step by step. Boom, 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 boom. Done. And a photo. And that's it. Because no need to waste your time. No need to waste my time. And I'm certainly not one of these idiots on the internet that wants to keep you on the website for however long. I'll do it right the first time around, just like I always do. After all, I am Devious Dave Rose. But making bacon, making the perfect bacon, I'm actually going to reveal that in this book. Could be, I could have revealed that in the other book that I eventually am going to release with a lot more recipes, and it's not really going to be geared towards the community. It's actually a book that I'm actually going to write, not in hopes of it being published, but with it in mind that if it is polished enough, then yes, it will get published. So, and that's just from the confidence of the dishes that I plan to write in it, the format that it's going to be written, and the content that's going to be included. But yeah, I do look forward to actually providing this little sort of booklet or little cookbook to the community and just getting their input from it as well. Because, yeah, it's just to see what they might think, and maybe it'll help somebody out at some point. You never know. But I always love to share my my knowledge on food, and just let people know that they can learn more at any point. They can do anything they want. Looks like I got a video here from Ken. He's cooking what appears to be I'm not sure if it's cannelloni. So, no, you're not going to find that bullshit. Not a rigatoni. No. Oh, there's the garlic bread that Shannon made him. Oh, the big pot of
and a little bit of Dave Rose. Step by step.
Pot of tomato sauce and a little bit of Dave Rose. I can't remember what those pasta types are. He just he's straining it out right now. He's going to eat. But, yeah, looks like Ken is making himself a nice traditional Italian meal on a Wednesday night. I'm guessing it's probably filled with meat and ricotta, the particular pasta that he has. But regardless, looks very good. Bon appetit, signore. So, yeah, we've talked a lot about food. It has been... We're going to go another 6 minutes because I like the even numbers. It'll be 3 hours. And, yeah, this is just us getting started here. This is just discussing a few things. I do plan to include more photos next time so that whatever it is that we are discussing is seen in all its glory by you, the viewers. But there's going to be things that are going to be covered, foods and such, that you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for, because I'll be providing recipes on air, and then you can pause them. You can watch the video back, pause it, take that recipe, and try it out yourself. But there's going to be a lot to talk about. And again, there's going to be no drama here. We're just too many chefs, all talking at the same time, all trying to make the best recipe. And that's what it's all about. That's what we're going to be doing here. And as you obviously know, food brings us all together. Makes us happy. Eating it, discussing it, making it. So, food is something that we shall discuss in great detail, obviously. And also be open to all sorts. So if you know of some recipe that you want us to discuss, you can write it in the comments below, and we can review it. You can ask for advice as to what you think might be a good salad to make very quickly. You might want to ask how you can manage a budget, wanting certain types of foods. Yeah, no problem. We're always up for discussing these sorts of things. And in fact, it's going to go even further, because on the Nikki Nine's channel, we'll be discussing food over there as well. After all, great men have great minds and love great food. So clearly, Nikki and I will be working on this sort of thing when it comes to discussing the beauty and art that is cooking. I'm not sure if the show name has been nailed down there yet, but I'll let Nikki announce that before I say anything else. Regardless, this is not flooding the market with food streams. Here at Too Many Chefs, the whole point is to get as much interaction as possible, invite as many people on the call, not just to fit the name of the show and add interaction, but also to laugh at those that laugh at the rows and then laugh back at them. But what we will be doing on Nikki's channel will be substantially different. Although discussing food, it will be done in an extremely different manner, and there's definitely a few surprises in store. So keep that in mind, because you can never talk enough about food. So it looks like we're down to 2 minutes and 30 seconds before we finish off our stream here. And before we go, just want to encourage you to leave your comments down below if you want me to cover any particular foods, if you want me to try any particular foods, give you a recipe, just let me know. And remember, you can always call in whenever you want if you want to share something. And yes, if I don't see you next week, maybe I will stream on Thanksgiving, or maybe the day before. We'll see. Do an exclusive American Thanksgiving scene. But yeah, if I don't talk to any of you then, I am wishing you and all your families a most happy and prosperous Thanksgiving, and a very full stomach and happy heart. Oh, we've got a comment here from Based Alcatraz. Says, Dave, thanks for the recommendation driving home from the city right now. What's an underrated pie flavor you like? Dave, have you seen the Mandalorian TV show? Yes, I have. Very good. Based Alcatraz, underrated pie. Custard? I think custard pie is underrated. I think people focus way too much on lemon meringue, key lime, chocolate pie, or the banana chocolate coconut pie or whatever, cream pie. I think custard pies are very underrated, especially the like I said earlier, the custard pie that's not. I guess it's more of a vanilla flavored custard pie. Custard for the custard pie, than it is more of a caramel custard. There's so many. There's even lemon custard. It's not lemon custard. It's more of a vanilla flavored custard. That's fucking well underrated. Hugely. In fact, that's probably my favorite pie. Not lemon custard, but fucking traditional custard, which I think is what has the vanilla, or a slight tinge of vanilla, but it's definitively different. Dark Emperor Striker says, Dave, oh yeah, I already asked that. Dark Emperor Striker says, wow, you should do a review on each episode. No, not really. There's a lot of people that do a lot of that stuff way better than me. Yeah, I think they're suited for it. I'm suited for politics, food, and art, I guess. Many other things, really. I am a very versatile individual. Coconut custard, says Mrs. Famous Network. No, I'm not. It's not that I'm not a fan of that. And maybe she's just saying that that's underrated. Possibly. Well, you know what? I'd say yes. I'd have to agree with her. Yes, coconut custard is not bad at all. And in fact, it does have a, not a bad name, but it's sort of overlooked. It's overlooked by other, because of the other pie. So yes, you know what? I would have to agree with her. Coconut custard. But the thing is, though, when it comes to coconut and me, although I love coconut, depends when. you know. So sometimes I'm not down with the coconut. Sometimes I am down. Depends on I don't know, what I'm feeling that day. But the one that I can always rely on is that traditional custard. That traditional, again, I think it has a slight vanilla tinge, but it's not a lemon custard. It's not a coconut custard. It's literally like the original. And yes, I can't find those, or I have, well, currently I'm in a little small town, so it's a little difficult for me to find these sorts of things. But regardless, I've always, in fact, found it very difficult to find traditional custard pies. Even in stores, even at bakeries. They got everything else, but they don't got that. Very, very unfortunate. And I'm not going to let it get me down, because I know I will find eventually, or I'll make it. Fuck it, I'll go live. I'll make it, because it's awesome. And I remember my mom used to make that custard. But it was like, it's not for a pie. It was like, here's a bowl of custard, kid, eat. Which still is, I think custard's way better than pudding, to be honest. And, oh man, custard. Oh, I remember, I think it was, I was really small. I think we went to the Ponderosa, and I got custard. There's a huge difference, people. Huge difference. Something about, and it was JB Sports Radio who introduced me to, I can't remember the restaurant that offers this, but it's a frozen custard. I think it's called Freddy's. Apparently they have badass burgers, like really, really good burgers. It's got like a really sort of like 50s diner type feel, at least with the way that they're branded and so forth. But they sell frozen custard. Not ice cream, frozen custard. Oh yeah, baby. Welcome to the food stream. Talking about that frozen custard. Oh yeah. That's what I feel. That's what I feel when I think about fucking custard. Oh yeah. Oh fucking yeah. And imagine, I mean, obviously, if you know me, and I know you do, you know I get passionate about the politics. And I'm very knowledgeable, and I can spit out the facts and just fucking nuke you with the information. But look at how I'm acting right now with talking about the food. I'm getting down and dirty. I'm feeling real good tonight. How are you, big boppers? You feeling good talking about the food? 'Cause I'm feeling real gravy. Hi, it's Wolfman Fat here on the radio. And I love to eat. I love to drink my gravy. I'm drinking some gravy right now. It's nice and thick. It's so thick I can stand on it. Now from another tune from Weird Al called I'm Fat. Anywho, love food. And who couldn't? Tomorrow, I shall make myself a lasagna. This is the way. A meat lasagna, in fact. And although, due to the previous trauma that I will cover in the future, I will probably need a psychologist on hand, as well as a therapist, and perhaps a circle of friends. But we will go into the trauma that caused me such disdain in regards to rice and pasta. But again, it's a struggle. It's an everyday struggle. Gotta work through it every day. I'm gonna get better. I'm going to not be scared or afraid or disgusted or bothered by either rice or pasta. I'll know that childhood trauma is behind me, and that in fact I can eat these foods not only in peace but to enjoy them, and know that my previous PTSD is not at all related to what the food is itself. It was how it's made. And the food itself is innocent, so I forgive it. And I have moved on to that next step of healing and accepting the beautiful carbohydrates that are grained rice and flour pasta. But it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been an easy road. But I've always had potatoes by my side. Potatoes have always been my friend, always stuck by me, and always have been the greatest starchy carbohydrate I could ever rely on. So potatoes, I'm eternally indebted to you for your love and support. Truly great. Lastly, since we've gone a little bit over that time of the 3-hour mark, which is perfectly fine, I do always enjoy when somebody adds a little point or two, especially that little coconut custard comment. That was a good point, Mrs. Falmouth Ken. Definitely underrated as well. But I could talk about this probably all night. Unfortunately, I also need to breathe, and I need to consume liquids so that I don't dry up. And since nobody's calling in, after 3 hours, have really consumed the reserve that I had available, and won't be able to go much longer. So I'll give it, I don't know. Let's give it another 5 minutes at most. 3:15. Let's do that. I like even sort of Sumerian type numbers. Everything's based on 60. Remember that. 15 times 4, 60. So we're going to go for 3 hours and 15 minutes. And yeah, then we're going to cut it to the end. But I'm very excited. I'm very excited because A, I love to talk food. B, I like to talk. C, I like to learn. And I like to expose myself to other people, other cultures, other foods. I very much thank Namesh for calling in earlier. That was very cool. Sharing his experience in Sri Lanka and, the challenges that come with making food in that region of the world. So that was very cool as well, and I do appreciate that. But I look forward to doing more shows of these, discussing different types of foods, different types of regions, discussing different types of recipes, sharing recipes, just sharing stories. Because when it comes to food, a lot of people that enjoy to make it like to share stories of how they made the food and shared it with others, and the joy that these people had, and in turn shared with them. To the chat here, we got Nikki J. Daweed God. Well, he says the weed guard is here. Says, have the weed foods. I have the weed foods, okay. I love fried potatoes. Yeah, I mean, you could fry a nail and people would fucking eat it and be delicious. And then he says, notice me senpai. Oh, I guess you're referring that to me. You needed the little attention. Poor form, Peter. Poor form. Regardless, love talking food, love talking to you about food, and I love just interacting and learning about food. So I look forward to making a new episode of this, and we're going to continue to talk about all different types of food, different regions, particular foods, and even recipes on how to make them and stuff. So I'm hoping to provide some video footage that I can play here that you can see on how easy certain things are to make. And soon enough, you will get that community cookbook. And it will be available for free as a PDF. And yeah, hopefully that will bring you some success when it comes to your culinary adventures. So, we're at 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Less than 2 minutes left. Thank you for sticking with us. I'm just going to count out the clock. Again, like I said, like those even numbers. And I know that 15 is not an even number, but I'm referring to the Sumerian numerical cycle, so shut the fuck up. Regardless, I did enjoy my time today. I really did. I really enjoyed talking food. I liked interacting with Namesh. I liked talking to people in the chat. And I like to think about all the different possibilities that exist in the future in regards to discussing food and learning more about food. So I thought this was a very cool pilot first episode, and just disproving yet again to all the idiots out there that I don't need to talk about any one individual or even bring up drama for that matter, because A, I am more intelligent than you. B, I am a better individual and human being than you. And C, I can do this solo for up to 10 hours at least, well, close to 11 so far. So, and that's solo, minus a couple of times people called in. Regardless, fact is, I don't need somebody else to be a topic. I can do this all on my own, all night long. But not today, because I've got other things to do. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this first episode of Too Many Chefs. I am your host, Devious Dave Rose. As always, it was a pleasure for you to be here and share your time with me. We shall be probably doing this as a weekly show, and I very much look forward to seeing you next time on this live stream. I am your host, Devious Dave Rose. I wish you a full belly, a happy heart, and a sane mind. Have yourselves a good night.